On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt remains nasally, but Nick has returned from his porcelain throne, so the duo will be back together to break down the latest episode of the the Book of Boba Fett, to remind everyone that we're dealing with a shared universe after all, and Din is the king of it. They'll go through all of the important history and moments from Book of Boba Episode 5, while also speculating on what it all may mean for the rest of Boba's show and the Mando-verse in general. They'll then talk about BDH's excellent Star Wars work so far and how she's been pegged to do even more soon. Matt will discuss a few new toys to consider while Nick makes fun of him for wasting his money. The two dopes will then transition into this week's fan segment to read this week's Question of the Week responses, while also admiring the latest Top 5 featured Star Wars artists. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey now, everybody! Look who's back. He's wearing his Astros hat because football is over for all of us. I don't know if Nick has checked out the oddly casted movie about Sean Payton on Netflix at this point in time, but he too has left the Saints. So I'm still not sure how you cast, what's his name, Kevin James, to play Sean Payton in like a biopic of sorts, but hey, whatever, right? I mean, money talks and get shit done. So
I have not seen that.
You have seen it though in your Netflix, though, right? I mean, you've seen
I've
the previews,
seen the little screen for it. I think I watched like a few minutes of the trailer. I mean, obviously, I know the whole story behind it, so well, I'll eventually watch it, but not high on my list right now. Is what
because I'd imagine that's kind of a dark turn for Saints fans. Because what you just like won the Super Bowl and then he got suspended, or was it the other way around? Suspended then won the Super Bowl.
So he was suspended after our Super Bowl win, and it was because of the whole bounty gate thing. Yeah. If you remember that, if you're a football fan, you'll know what that means. But yeah, I mean, that season definitely wasn't great for the Saints. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it could have been for sure, but not having your head coach there sucks for a season. And now obviously Sean Payton has retired, so he's not going to be there permanently. So
that was odd. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe he's made enough money, doesn't want to deal with the nonsense, or maybe he saw some tea leaves and is like, you know what, this is a good time to get the fuck out of the Saints organization. I mean, but
here's like everybody who complains about like coaches retiring being like, well, they just fucking left us hanging high. It's like, dude, these people are people too, and like if you don't like your job, you don't keep it. Like if you don't like your job as a garbage man, you quit. So like, why would that be different for any other position?
Hey, people, they just need to bitch, man. That's I don't want to say that's what humanity's been reduced to. I think we've clearly always been that way. It's just so easy. There's so many platforms these days to get the bitching out that it feels like a deluge of nonsense. So
like I just saw a bunch of it on like the day he retired. I was like, wow,
you traitor, you
I was like, dude, I was like, look, would you rather have a coach that's there that wants to do it, given 150% all the time, or would you rather have a guy who's literally like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore? Like, I want the guy who's there giving it 150.
I remember when Coward decided to hang it up, and he was young, and he just won the Super Bowl and had what is now going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, first ballot. And he walked away. I'm like, if that motherfucker goes to the other team, I'll hate him for life. Luckily, he stuck with the TV stuff, and he's never coaching again. But I get it. All right, man. Well, it's good to have you back. It sounded like just in our chats you had a case of the double orifice vomit shits going on last week.
I'm pretty sure that I have an ulcer, and like,
what are you fucking worried about? Like, I'm the guy that's all angry and worried about shit. What's going on with you?
But I've had ulcers in the past, so like I know when I have one. And like basically the best way that I can describe the feeling that I was having on Tuesday was like, it felt like my stomach was full of battery acid, and like there was very little that I could do to alleviate that feeling.
Yeah, you have to wait it out. I don't know if it's diverticulitis or the other one, losis, but when I get those attacks, it's that's how I explain it. It's like I ate hot tacks and they're now trying to work their way through my intestines.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing. You can't even use nature's magic medicine to quell the pain. You just got to kind of just suffer through it. So, all right, well, it wasn't the COVID. I mean, I was out of sorts last week too. I'm still feeling the kindergarten gunk even today. I'm sounding nasally, but I feel a lot better. I don't feel like dying, at least. So, all right. Well, hey, Nick's back. You know it's going to be fun. It could get a little lengthy. That's why we're going to limit the bullshit today to just that. He's back. He's alive. He's in the co-pilot chair, and he's ready to break down the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett, a.k.a. what should now be known as the fruition of the promised Mando-verse that we were given over a year ago. All right, so don't get all pouty Boba Fett fans. This was the design all along, if you were paying attention. Crossovers were promised. A shared universe was promised. And guess what? It's happening before any of us could even have guessed. Not that Din showing up was a surprise. I think we'd been talking about that since the end of Mandalorian Season 2 when we knew Book of Boba Fett was happening. And on this show, and I still think even Favreau might have said this, we dubbed Book of Boba Fett as Mando Season 2.5. And that finally kind of paid off here in the Book of Boba E1, or I'm sorry, S1E5. So we're going to spend a lot of time on the return of the Mandalorian today because it warrants it. I mean, I know Nick doesn't get mixed up in the Discord or in socials, but those of you, the Discord warriors that I've been chatting with, it was pretty clear that this episode really tickled everyone's taints.
I'm going to tell you what, too. Like, when we get to talking about it, I'm going to dislike a part that everybody probably loved. And my main reason for liking this episode, I'm just going to, it's Peli. And that's it. Like,
she is, I mean, I said it in my breakdown. I know, I mean, Nick doesn't subscribe to our channel or give me views either, like the rest of you, but I professed my love for Peli Motto and her droids in the breakdown and described her and Din's Bond relationship as one of the top, if not the top character bonds in all of Star Wars at this point in time. Seeing those two together, it's a treat, and it's been a treat every single time. And the longer their relationship goes on and the better they know each other, it seems the more intriguing their moments together get. You just gotta love her.
I would take a weekly, 25-minute long, half-hour long show where it's literally just Peli
and the droids
in her spaceport doing what she does. Like that's I don't need to, because I'm sure that her interactions with the people around Mos Eisley are as fucking weird as they are with Ben every time he comes in. So I'll take a show just on that. I'll say that fight scene between Paz and Din was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, all right, we'll get there. We'll get there. Swinging of the
you know what, buddy? You know what? Since you took a show off and you're already going into it, you know how we usually do our breakdowns. We give our general reception of an episode first, and then we do kind of the deep dive with the Easter eggs, references, key moments. Give you some speculations, maybe zero in on some quotes that may make sense down the road or maybe setting stuff up. So since you're already going for it, let's hear it. What'd you think of the return of the Mandalorian?
So overall impressions were probably my favorite episode of the season so far. It didn't, like, in, some good, some bad with that. Like it's bad because it's not really an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Like, we finally got there in the last, 2 minutes when Fennec showed up, but it was really just a minute. It was really just an episode of, the man, like, it's an intro to Mandalorian season 3. So, that's concerning.
2.5. I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. I'll correct everyone. 2.5. Season 3 is coming at the end of this year. That was 2.5.
So that's a little disappointing, but also, like you said, before we went online, he kind of, Din's the guy who kind of kicked off this whole new, universe inside of a universe. So it's not surprising that it was, their favorite episode. My least favorite part of it was the fight. And this all goes back to the fact that lightsabers are light blades. And like, I don't buy this bullshit where it's like, you're fighting against the blade. It's like, okay, is that like, does that happen when the 5-year-old Padawans inside of the Jedi Temple can swing their blades around fine? Or like when people who have no force power at all pick up a lightsaber and they can cut down trees and do whatever with it? Like the experience around lightsabers is just like so weird now, and it's so disconnected between all of the different properties within Star Wars. Like the OT is different than the sequel trilogy, and then the sequel is different from the prequel, and now the TV shows are different than the fucking movies and stuff. It's just have a cohesive vision for how lightsabers work and stick with it. So like that whole fight scene between Paz and Mando, where both of them are dragging this thing around like it's a fucking 500-pound hammer, was just awful to watch.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
they
that,
looked like they were characters in Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, like and
they were doing their best Cal Kestis impressions.
Yeah, like if Nick Gillard watched that, he probably vomited on sight when he started to see these people wield these blades around. I mean, the fact of the matter is that like the heaviest part of a lightsaber or the dark saber is the hilt, and he was holding the hilt in one hand with a few fingers, and then all of a sudden, when he turns the light beam on that has no weight, the thing now weighs 550 pounds.
It's the Force, man. The Force is working against him. And like 1-6 is saying, and props and Devin in the chat, it's not a lightsaber, Nick. So yeah,
no,
I mean,
it's definitely a lightsaber. I'm
it's
sorry
funny,
to shatter your reality.
Other people has said as much. I believe it was Klondike. Klondike. What am I thinking about? I got some lesbians on my mind or something. I think Klondike was the one. He's like, you know what? Maybe they did this to explain why Kylo lugs the thing around like it weighs 10,000 pounds. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Maybe we'll learn more. They're obviously setting up some history for Mandalore Tar Vizsla, and I think Din is going to learn more and more about the history of the first Mando Jedi. Who knows? I tend not to get bogged down in that type of stuff, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It is a bit jarring for longtime fans, especially when you see what they were doing with lightsabers in the prequel era. And, not that we can comment much on the OT because they hardly use them effectively in that, but
yeah, I mean, it just all came down to like, after having that conversation with Nick and everything else, and hey, maybe if we talk to the stunt coordinator for the sequel trilogy, then we could have a little bit more light shed on it. Or if we talk to the stunt coordinator for this, they could, try to explain to us why these people are holding these light blades like they're super heavy. But
if Armor would have said something related to the Force versus, hey, you're fighting the blade, would that have cleaned it up for you at all, or you still think it's stupid?
I don't think so, because like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter if it's the Force or not. Like we've literally seen non-trained Force
Moff
users
Gideon used it quite
totally fine,
easily. Yeah, I got you.
He was whipping it around like it was no big deal. So, I mean, like, even like, yeah, you could say like Luke Skywalker pre-training, like he picks up the blade and he's like, oh yeah, whatever. He doesn't even know he has the Force. Like, and he was like literally in one hand. Like
it is the continuity. The continuity definitely gets a little odd. Right.
Yeah. Everything else though, I thought was fucking top notch. I mean, the rebuild of the N1 Starfighter, all of the exchanges with Peli, the little pullover moment with
Captain Carson Teva, yep, our buddy from season 2.
So I was actually surprised that they didn't bring in Filoni's character again to be the other pilot alongside of him, but that was an interesting interaction. So I thought that overall the episode was really cool, just like from stem to stern. And I'm interested to see how they're gonna basically, where we're going to transition back to the book side of things. So obviously, he's, Boba is planning some sort of move where he needs muscle, whether it be against the Pikes or somebody else. So, I think
Mythos Boba. I'd have to rewatch that episode, but there is the only other focused training we've seen with someone using the Darksaber for the first time was in Star Wars Rebels. I do not remember Sabine struggling to swing it. I remember her struggling to kind of master it. I don't know if Filoni kind of gave that to John, and that's why we got what we got in this episode. But yeah, who knows? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on why the fucking Darksaber weighs a lot. Who cares? All right, it's space, it's sci-fi. Who gives a shit? Outside the continuity and possible things to be explained, to me, it was a minor issue in this rather excellent episode. Yeah. All right, so I guess Sabine does say it's heavy. All right, fine. Okay, Nick's wrong. You guys are all right.
I just don't care if they say it's heavy. Like, it's not heavy. Like, the fact is that it's not heavy.
All right, so. Yeah, it's mystical shit. So we can't explain mystical shit. We don't know how to do Star Wars science, so it is what it is. Nick will atone for his errors after the episode and possibly chop off one of his testicles.
Definitely won't.
All right, so... I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I have a lot of notes, and I vomited a lot of my thoughts and have tried to educate our Discord group, for the most part, who fell in line, okay? Sometimes I got to correct them, remind them of certain things. But this episode was pure joy, all right? I mean, I'm not one of these people that's going to sit here and denigrate the Book of Boba because... he was completely devoid from this episode, because I'm the one that, I kind of got the signs, and they laid it out very clearly to us. I think at the end of, 2020, the last time we saw The Mandalorian, and Kathy was out there showing, hey, look, you guys like The Mandalorian so much, we're doing all this now. It's going to be a shared universe. There's going to be crossovers. So whatever. This is what I've been expecting since day one. I mean, once the world realized that The Mandalorian was the next true Star Wars gem and it became such a popular hit, that's why we got shows like the Book of Boba. So I'm not going to sit here and I saw some of these people that run the big sites like taking these clickbaity titles like, oh, isn't it sad that the Book of Boba Fett's best episode was all about The Mandalorian? I'm like, no, because the Book of Boba Fett lives in his fucking universe, people, whether you want to like it or not. And I think another thing this episode finally proved from this angry motherfucker, I've been right all along about Boba Fett. He has not been the most exciting Star Wars character that wears Mandalorian armor, nor has his father. It clearly is Din Djarin, who now we know how to say his last name properly. I no longer have to stutter the Din Djarin. It's just Din Djarin. Because if he's not the most popular Mandalorian or Beskar wearing character, then you don't have the reaction that fans had last week. Like, fucking yeah, he's saving the day. Finally, Book of Boba's worth watching. What does that tell you about your hero? This false god all of you have cooked up in your heads based on aborted EU comics and shit. He was a bum. He's finally a real character now. That is why I love the Book of Boba Fett. Those first 4 episodes finally showed me that he's no longer a chump. He told us, I'm tired of being a fucking chump. I'm tired of working for idiots. I'm tired of seeing my kind get killed by these dumbass crime lords that I know I can do better. Boba Fett is a character now. Now he can go on to achieve the heights of Din Djarin. All right, so eat that, motherfuckers. No, I love all of you. So, great episode. For me, love the lore dumps, right? I've said this all along. I don't come to Star Wars for the flashy shit, the pew-pews and the sabers. I come here for the story. That's all I've ever cared about in Star Wars. That's it. The story. I want to know more. I want to know why this stuff is happening, and I want to know where things are going. And I think this episode did all that perfectly for me. I mean, I have so many more notes to talk about. I don't know if I want to rattle through all the points now, but I mean, 100% loved. It just oozed off the screen. Din's love for Grogu. I mean, we got glimpses of that at the end of season 2 and some of the stuff he was willing to do. But once we see the sacrifice that he made, knowing that he was going to be excommunicated, that shows you how much that dude loves the little green guy. Him looking at the Rhodian kid, and he was sitting there thinking like, fuck, where's my guy?
I will say that he took his helmet off far before the end of
only in front of a droid, though.
He took his helmet off when he was in that, that like the first episode that Bryce Dallas Howard directed. When he took that bath and like that little village.
But he wasn't. They're allowed to take their helmets off as long as they're not in front of other people. That's always been a rule.
The way that she said it seemed like never, because she was like, "Have you ever taken your helmet off?"
I think it's more in front of other Mandalorians or other people. Like if you're by yourself, I think you can take a shower. I hope they can take a shower. Otherwise, the armorer's got to smell like just something god awful. Probably like my cat's ass when she's licking it far too long. And then Paz probably smells even worse because he's a heavy person, and fat people usually have their own little unique odor going on because you can't get under those crevices and whatnot. And then of course our boy Din, I mean, the adventures we've seen him gone on, the mud he's been in, so I think they're at least allowed privately to take it off. Okay. So the only documented helmet removals were in front of IG-11 to get cured or fixed at the end of season 1. And then season 7, episode 7, or season 2, episode 7, that's the real sacrifice. That's when he's like, I have no other means to save this little kid or 50-year-old outside of breaking the creed. And he took it off to wear that, the tank armor helmet and do the facial scan and get his face put into the Empire's database. And then obviously in the finale when he had to say goodbye to the little one. But again, it just shows you someone that drank the Kool-Aid from the time he was picked up by Death Watch. His love of that little guy was enough for him to break that bond he had with the Kool-Aid drinkers. Love that stuff. The N1, my God. There was a part of me when we were talking about last week and when I heard about the rumors almost a year ago, I was like, I don't know. But then you see what they do to it and you see it at the end, you're like, yeah, that's a fucking sweet ride. That's like one of the coolest. Turn it into
a hot ride.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest looking starships in Star Wars right now. And guess who else just flew one-man starfighters? Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, Rey at the end. All Star Wars heroes end up with a badass starship. They don't need these RVs that can fly, okay? R.I.P. Razor Crest. Yeah, we bought the HasLab. It's useless now, so what? That fucking N1 is slick. It's sexy.
I hope they just destroy his ships like every other season so he never has the same one.
That would be funny. Yeah, like that's like a running gag.
It's like, all right, I need another thing. It's like, all right, what do we got here? Let's go back. We got an old Galactic Republic era, whatever fighter. We got a rebellion X-wing here. You can ride that. We got a B-wing, and he just goes through all these ships. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it just like I said, I've always loved the N1. I do think it's one of the sexiest looking ships in Star Wars. But when I was trying to put Din in it, it didn't jive until I saw what they did. And then when he gets up and he starts flying, then he lands and calls it Wizard, like our boy Devin reminded me here. I was like, yeah, that's his fucking ship. That's his ship. They can figure out compartments to attach a carbonite slab to underneath and, a hatch to throw all his weapons in. Fuck it. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't need that big ass RV. So, the other things are kind of high level, but I'll just kind of rattle them off. So hopefully I don't forget, but I'm got a theory going on right now that Grogu and or Din, they're going to be the next Mando Jedi, like Tar Vizsla, the Armorer. Like, come on. Sam Witwer finally making me realize she's got fucking horns on her helmet like the Mandalorians. Is she like an even more extreme branch of Death Watch? Will Mando be going to see Maz Kanata? Rumors we've heard. And then, like I already said, Din is the true most popular Mandalorian in all of Star Wars, whether people want to admit it or not. The reaction to this episode proved it in full. All right, so yeah, I mean, I loved it, and I thought it was perfect. It was perfect time to have that episode in the Book of Boba Fett because, let's be real, we've seen it all. We are now caught up to Boba Fett's story. We now know what has happened to him since the Sarlacc up to meeting Mando. So it was a nice little pause to remind everyone, like, hey, well, yeah, we've been learning about Boba Fett and how he's becoming an actual real character. But guess what? This is the Mando-verse. It's a shared universe, and these crossovers are going to happen. So I thought it was brilliant. And I'm not going to lie, when I was watching it, Nick, I kept looking. I'm like, oh, Jesus, we're 30 minutes in. Like, are we going to get to, like, the Boba timeline here? Or what's going on? And then it's going and going and going, and then get to the end, and then you hear Pelly like, hey, some lady's looking for it. He's like, oh, there it is. And then it's literally, hey, Boba needs some muscle. You want some money? Nah, it's on the house, but I gotta go find Grogu first. End credits. Like, all right, well, at least we had that slight tie-in right there. So let's go ahead and get through the Easter eggs, because there were many, my friends, and some good ones. And really the key moments were even better in terms of what they may have in store for the series and the Mando-verse as things progress. So just let me get all my files in an order here so I'm not talking shit or I'm not talking out my ass, because I never like to admit that I'm doing either. All right, so getting into the eggs. Right off the bat, and these are kind of callbacks to the Mandalorian itself, we see that Din is still whipping his spear, and he still likes to drop his catchphrase, I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold, which didn't seem to matter to this Klatooinian. He wanted to have a brawl, and my God, I loved how that played out. I mean, that fight with Paz, I'll give you, looked kind of wonky, but this one, you know, seeing him kind of struggle, but the fact that he was chopping people in half and severing heads, yeah, that's nice to see in Star Wars every once in a while. You know, it's good to remind people, like, hey, I know George wanted it to be all kid-centric, but it's nice to kind of get that in-your-face violence from the Mandalorian here and now. This next one, I don't know what you thought, Nick, but seeing the world they were on, I mean, were you not instant like, oh, you getting the Halo fucking theme song going?
It's definitely like Halo Ring vibes for sure. Huge. I wonder, like, did they say like what this was, or did they completely go by?
Based on do you remember the moment where he's in the elevator standing next to that alien?
Yeah.
Apparently that alien was called like a Glavis something. So a lot of fans have just said, well, then maybe this ring world's called Glavis or Glavis, Glavis. But there was no direct name in the closed captioning or anything. It was just kind of fans thinking that, all right, if that character's name is Glavis something, then maybe that means that's the name of the ring world. I don't know if you got like in some of the pull down shots, and I know you hate this franchise, but I got Citadel vibes as well from Mass Effect, especially the shot I have up now on the live stream, which, by the way, if you want to join in, we do the live stream every Tuesdays about 2:30 East on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. But there are moments when you're on the Citadel, and you can also see it is kind of a ring world, and you have these cities built essentially in space, and they're just floating and hovering there. So I did enjoy the look of it. I just thought this planet was rad. It was quite unique for Star Wars overall. Everything, we've never seen something like this in Star Wars.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a first, which I think is pretty cool. First thing was definitely like Halo Ring vibes, and then I mean, I didn't really think of the Citadel, but
well, it's like we all know you hate the franchise, so you haven't gone back to it in quite some time. But
I mean, was the Citadel a ring, or I don't even know.
It was, if you remember, it was almost like a flower that opens up to reveal the world. You know what I mean? And then. Okay. But I don't know, whatever. Just go with me on that one, young Nick. It works.
I believe you.
All right, so we the character that Din did the job for to get information on the covert was an Ishi Tib, All right, the good old Ishi-Tib alien race. I believe it was. Don't we have a Jedi Ishi-Tib, or was there an Ishi-Tib Jedi? Either way, they've been featured in Star Wars, I believe, both in animated and live action before. Mm-hmm. As Din is looking for the covert after he gets the info he was seeking for the job he did, we get to see the good old mythosaur symbol, and it does appear that the coverts get into what a lot of us did in the 90s when we were in our teens, and that is using stuff that only lights up in a black light. So I just envision the Armor and Paz all along have been down there essentially having raves and dipping open markers into absolute bottles.
There's just dicks drawn all over the wall. And you can't see it unless you turn the fucking black light on.
I remember that. Like it even made it into college. We thought we were so cool. Like I said, we'd empty absolute bottles and we'd throw in neon markers to turn the water and then turn on the black light, be like, whoa, aren't we fucking so hip? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used invisible ink pens a lot when I was in high school. That was when they were like super popular, and they were like, oh, it's an invisible ink pen, and then on the back of it there's a black light that you can hit the button and you can read it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fucking
science is cool. All right, so hey, like it's just all this stuff was cool. I mean, I don't think I knew Mando was coming to this series. I did not know we'd be getting Mando 2.5 and like a deep plot dump and lore setup for Mando season 3. So, the fact that we finally got to see the Armorer and Paz again was nice. And I did fuck this up in the video because when Paz says only 3 of us, I forgot to include that Din was the 3rd. So that's crazy to think about. I mean, that covert to help Din and Grogu get off planet on Navarro essentially sacrificed itself. It sacrificed its foundlings, all the adults outside the Armor and Paz, and then obviously Din was the last one. So that's some deep shit. And that goes to show you some of the tenets of their creed and what that means: loyalty and solidarity. Even though,
wonder how many of just like the general Death Watchers are left now, because obviously these. But I mean, and the thing is it's like we know that Mandalorians exist outside of it. We've seen them with Bo-Katan and the Night Owls, and we know that they have like an entire, following behind them too. So I wonder like what the breakdown is between like regular non-Death Watch Mandos versus
and I want to get into that because let's just say we shouldn't be taking what the Armorer says verbatim. No. She is spinning her own tale, right? This is the whole, we hear it all the time. The victors kind of write history. Not that any Mandalorian was victorious, but she is writing her own history,
her own version,
right?
She's like the David Koresh of Mandalorians.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know who David Koresh is, he's the guy who
Waco,
was
Texas,
like the Waco, Texas disaster, where all of those fucking crazy Mormons were like stockpiling weapons and then they burned themselves alive. So.
I mean, she's like, hey, only my people got it. She's full of shit. I mean, we know at least 3 other Mandalorians that weren't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs survived the purge and the Night of 1,000 Tears. But I definitely want to dig into that once we get in the key moments. But in addition to seeing these characters again, we also got the drop on Tar Vizsla, which is always good to see. And like I said, don't sleep on Grogu and or Din becoming the second full Mandalorian Jedi, especially knowing that we know Grogu at some point is going to get himself some Beskar armor, probably chainmail, and Din already has that part, but there's a good chance he may be kind of dipping into more of the mystical sides of wielding the Darksaber. All right, so I don't give a fuck what Paz says. It might be an heirloom of his family's, but I believe Din is the one destined to be the ruler.
Yeah. There's no birthright attached to the Darksaber, at least in my opinion.
No, well, dude, I mean, there's real... and this goes back to the Armor. She doesn't believe in birthright anything because she puts the whole fall of Mandalore on the Kryze family and like, oh, she was born into a great house and they fucked it up and she didn't deserve the role anyway. So yeah, fuck Mandalorians. They don't believe in in shit getting passed down through bloodlines. They believe in shit getting passed down through combat. Plain and simple. That's it. Like, whoever's the strongest rules. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but these fucking assholes, probably the Armorer's ilk, fell in line with Darth Ass Maul because he won the saber in combat. So she's fucking crazy. But anyway, we'll get there. And then this is the first time in shit, a full season, right? And almost a year and a half since the last one that we got the Kool-Aid tagline thrown at us left and right. This is the way. This is the way. I was like, shit, I forgot how much these people like to say this, because it really has been since season 1 and when he left Navarro that we had all that "this is the way" type of like Catholic ceremony chants and responses. So it all returned in this episode to catch us up. Loved it. While he's talking with Paz, we get a Moth Gideon update. That was nice. All right. Clearly,
that is interesting. I was going to say something about that they turned him over to the New Republic. Like, I figured that Bo would have taken his ass back. Like, just like the whole turn of events that like we see essentially, you know, what's happening after S2 ended. Like, I figured that he probably would, like, they would try to figure this whole Darksaber thing out, but it seems like Bo's like, well, you won it, so all right, see you later.
Yeah.
And she's just like, okay with it. Like,
no, I mean, that
it seemed like that would have been a bigger deal to her, but I don't know.
Maybe it was the moment and everything, and seeing a Jedi come back and Grogu go and Din getting all emotional. She's like, you know what? This guy's so fucked up in the head from being in Death Watch and the cult. He just had a rough emotional go, giving up his ward. Man, I'm going to let it slide for a little bit. Maybe I'll challenge him in season 3. But I did like, that's why I like that we got this episode, because it gets all that bullshit out of the way. This is, we don't even have to address anything from season 2 Mando now when season 3 starts. It can go right into what I think is going to be Din's quest to redeem himself in the mines of Mandalore. But again, more on that later. All right. So, yeah, well, the Gideon thing, Nick, I do believe everyone's favorite former New Republic soldier, Cara Dune, did say that she would be kind of wrangling up for the New Republic. So that kind of made sense to me. Although I do agree with Paz and Armor that they should have just killed the motherfucker.
Yeah. Or like handed him over to the Mandalorians. But I guess like since there's no like official Mandalorian delegation right now, or like nobody to give him to, I just figured they would have just like let Bo-Katan have them and just do whatever she wanted.
Yeah, who knows? But I think that's all season 3 stuff. I mean, we as much as we love this episode, we couldn't have it go too far into full-on Mando plot lines. It kind of had to remain generalized to the current timeline and what's going on. But I do want to bring up the legend she said, and the fact that she did call it a legend herself when she spoke of the mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore. And even the Armor says, sadly, it is a tale of legend. I don't know if that was like a double nod to, because you tell me, were mythosaurs a big thing in the expanded universe, which is now considered legend in real life, or no?
I mean, does it really matter at this point? Right. I mean, like to my knowledge, mythosaurs were like what they would do, like they would kill mythosaurs to prove their strength and like their worth as a Mandalorian. So like you would bring back like a mythosaur skull or something like that, and like that would be like the true test of strength for a Mandalorian or something like that.
Okay,
so,
that makes. I can also see it though actually coming to fruition in the Mando-verse.
Riding mythosaurs as well. Like that was another thing.
I mean,
ride on the backs.
When we get into key moments, we can go deeper. But I think this episode, above any, has set Din's path in motion to become something much more special than a bounty hunter. And they are kind of teeing him up to kind of be the savior, the mythosaur rising up. Now, is that just symbolism? Is he going to have his chain hanging out when he makes his big move? Or will he find one of the beasts as he's looking for the living waters in the mines of Mandalore? Yes, little one. Hello. Welcome back home. How you doing?
Good.
All right.
Like you.
I love you too. Thank you.
We got the Legos.
Oh, your mommy got the surprise?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I can't wait to build that one. Okay, sorry. Well, that's the... we didn't get that last week because she was home with me sick, but that's if you're new here, that's my little kid's back from kindergarten, and she still loves her angry daddy, so that always makes me feel good.
What's the Lego set? What's the new Lego set?
They just released this exclusive globe set. You build a globe, and it looked pretty cool. So, yeah, that's the set that we picked up. Wasn't cheap, and I still kind of want to boycott Lego over what they did to me on this Disney Castle set I bought like a year and a half ago. I mean, dude, I've never bought a $400 Lego set and then have every single bag miss pieces. It's been a goddamn nightmare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is pretty fucked up.
Going back real quick before we move on, I want to address 1/6-shooter. No chance in hell Boba Fett is going to be wielding the Darksaber and being the savior. I mean, he's a clone. He's told us in canon last year in The Mandalorian he's not a Mandalorian. He doesn't buy into that shit. Boba 100% wants to be who he is right now in the series. Din is going to be the chosen one. That's where I'm going with. We need to give up on Boba Fett having some sort of allegiance to Mandalorians. He never had it. Never will. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I know that like in old canon, that he kind of followed that path where he eventually like went back to Mandalore and started to like, be more cognizant and like live more of a Mandalorian lifestyle, and then like eventually would try to like, become the leader of the remnant. But I don't think that's where he's going here. It's just like, you would have to do such a dramatic 180-degree turn based off of what we already know about the character and what he's expressed his desire to be, that it would be kind of weird. Like, right. Yeah,
we'd be saying he did all that he's trying to do now on Tatooine, and then he just gives it up for a legend that he's never gave a fuck about. I don't see it. Trevor, I'll 100% take you up on the bet. You let me know what you want to wager, and I'm in, because I don't know. I don't get everything right, but I do consider myself to be a damn good speculator based on what's been laid out there, and I do not see it. It's just not in Boba Fett's character. Does he come and maybe help Din in the Mandalorians? Sure. But does he become the leader and wielding the Darksaber? I just do not see it at all for the character and what he has, I don't want to say even transformed into, what he has grown into in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. It seems like he has a lot. I mean, like, it's not even really self-serving. Like, he wants to be a leader, yes, and we see that now with him trying to start his own syndicate.
But in his area, his arena.
Exactly. A different way. Like, he doesn't want to be the leader of Mandalore. Like, he wants to run his own syndicate, and, that's completely different than, like, running an entire civilization.
And we all learned, I mean, we've learned even from this episode and Mando Season 1 and beyond that you don't have to be born Mandalorian to be a Mandalorian. So, yeah, exactly. I guess a clone could become one, but only if you follow the Goofy Creed. Because if you don't follow the Goofy Creed, then you're no longer a Mandalorian, at least to the
Death Watchies.
The cult. When it comes to the Kreeses of the world, I don't know. What makes you a Mandalorian? Because they were the ones born on Mandalore proper.
And like, that's what ultimately comes down to. Like, if there are only 2 Death Watch people left, then like, it really doesn't fucking matter what their creed is or what they believe or who they think should be the leader of Mandalore.
Yeah, that is a good, like, we still have no clue how, we know there are other coverts. How many and how densely populated they are, we have no idea. I mean, you would think these 2 being reduced to 2, they would have joined another or tried to lead another, but no, they still wanted to stay in their own little goofy pack.
But it's also like, we've only heard, like, have we heard about other coverts from anybody other than people who are in a covert? So like,
I mean, I guess you could loosely say when Axe Woves goes like, oh, he's one of them, implying that they know of these people, they've come across the Creed believers.
Because when you're in a cult, the cult leader tells you like, oh yeah, there's other people all over the world that believe the same thing that we do, but there aren't. It's just you. So like, is she that type of person who's like, oh yeah, the other coverts all over, you find around the corner, right there.
That's a good point. I mean, again, that could just be more of the armor's gaslighting on Din, because
Yeah.
We have to assume Din has been in that covert for a long
his
time.
entire life. Yeah, like his entire adult life.
He was picked up from True Death Watch, and then was that Armorer's version of Death Watch? Was that Pre-Vizsla's version of Death Watch? Bo-Katan's version? Who the fuck knows? They're all shitheads when you think about it. I mean, Mandalorians, it's a fucked up society if you really break it down what happened to them. So, and really that was the other thing, and we're still in our eggs references and cameos, but I appreciated getting the Armorer's view of Bo-Katan Kryze and how, that's a cautionary tale. But I think for us fans of Rebels, it finally explained, like, all right, if they believe in this legend, that if you get the Darksaber and try to rule Mandalore and it wasn't through combat, you inherently bring a curse to the planet and the people. That's given us a little resolution to how things went down in Star Wars Rebels. Because, I mean, she more or less says, hey, Bo-Katan didn't win it. She tried to rule, and then the curse came to fruition. I mean, we get the whole curse, and then the whole prophecy of the Darksaber when you win it through combat finally gets explained to us.
Yeah.
All right. She's like, hey, she didn't win it by creed. Her house lost sight of the way. And then this is where we go into, which was one of the best flashbacks we've had, even though it was short, but it was very informative when she tells us we finally get to see the Great Purge, and then in particular, the Night of 1,000 Tears. And you had to love those visuals. You had to love thousands of TIE bombers blanketing the sky. It reminds me of that episode from the Animatrix where the humans finally decided our way to win is to block out the sun, and they had all those jets with like oil slicks coming out. I mean, at one point you really couldn't even see the sky. It was nothing but TIE bombers. Love that. And then them just glassing the planet. Remember, we heard about how the planet was essentially glass like they did in Halo, and we see it now. It's because there was a jillion TIE bombers dropping bombs on every square inch of the planet. I believe this was their Capitol building that we saw in Rebels, that big dome structure, and seeing that thing getting fucking wiped out. And then, Nick, I'm sure this resonated with you because I think you're a fan of the franchise, but just the direct mirroring of Terminator Apocalypse visuals to what we got here, thanks to BDH, that was just a thing of beauty. So
that's what I was gonna say. Is like that scene at the end, like at the end of that flashback where you have the ISB security droids and you have the probes kind of walking through. That was like super Judgment Day.
The T-800s were the K2s, and then the probe droids were I forget what the ship droids were called in Terminator. But yeah, I mean, it was dead on. Even the slow pace that the K2s were walking in the like shooting fucking down Mandos, and even the screenshot I have in the stream. I mean, look at that. Look at the carnage. Look at all the helmets. I mean, it was a purge. It was a massacre. And we finally got to see it. I mean, this was teased way back in season 1 when Gideon was shit-talking them in the bar. So I love that payoff. Beautiful shit. What else we got here? Yeah, we got the Grogu name drop. All right. I'm surprised we're getting right back to Grogu, but thanks to the way this episode played out, plus previous decisions made by Din, it makes sense. I mean, the guy is bonded to him. He truly is Din's foundling. And as Din explained, like, you know what? Fucking Jedis and Mandos, our beliefs are completely opposite, at least if we're considering the wacky creed shit. But he clearly is still committed to loyalty and solidarity for his dude. So, the fact that he wants to make him something and check in on him is, it's poignant to the relationship he formed with that little guy.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's happening so soon. I mean, I guess I
am too.
Like, maybe he could have gone like a couple more months without seeing him, but I guess the pull in the relationship is really
it's so hard. I mean, Star Wars makes it damn near impossible to tell how much time has passed. I mean, for all we know, it could be a year at this point since the Gideon Star Destroyer running and handing over Luke. We just don't know. But I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about this in key moments, but I feel like they've kind of painted themselves into a hole with the end of episode 5, but we'll get there. So what else we have? Grogu name drop, making him some gear. What do you think? Chainmail for the little guy?
It looked like it. It looked like it's going to be like chainmail, ringmail type of thing.
Yeah.
And because there's really like you saw like the little chain pieces.
Yeah,
so I don't know what else
sure.
it could be.
Yeah, some people are like, oh, maybe she made him a mythosaur. He's like, he's already got a mythosaur necklace, and there's no way this lady is wasting pure Beskar on a fucking necklace. No way.
Yeah.
She sets it up for us. She says, this should only be used for armor. Done. All right, so I think we're going to see the little man in some chainmail. And like I said, I mean, unless Din taps into the Force, Grogu definitely has potential to be a hybrid like Tar Vizsla. Kind of the mentality of a Mandalorian, but the skill and the attunement to the Force like a Jedi. All right, I kind of fucked this one up, but it's all right. Oh, the little sack looking like Grogu too, right?
Yeah,
that was on purpose, and I think everyone picked up on that. All right, so I fucked this up. Whatever. Apparently, we saw the vibro blades vibrating in the Mandalorian before. I did not remember them vibrating as much as we saw them here, but I do believe seeing the arm shield might have been new. But I think I fucked that up too because maybe Casca popped one up to block Boba's fire when they had their little fight.
I was gonna say I think she did,
All
right in that little barroom brawl they had.
Okay. Well, like I said to the Discord bros, if I screw up, don't tell me in Discord. Do it in YouTube. Call me out because that can
comment on the video.
As I told him, it's like hate breeds more hate, which could breed more views, and that's what we're looking for. Still not getting a lot of action on these videos, and listen, you diehards, the Discorders, can you please start sharing some of my content? I know everyone wants to, get their own clout and everything. Be like, ooh, look, I saw this too. And look, I saw that he went through Beggar's Canyon just like Anakin. Can we try to promote the guy here that gets up early and kind of tease up this stuff before the rest of the world wakes up and finds all these neat little eggs and whatnot instead of, our own little, oh, hey, look what I saw. Come on. That's all we ask for. There's no Patreon. There's no donations on this stupid show. Just give us credit where credit is due. Get my theories out there before other people. Thank you. All right. You're always quick to tell me how wrong I am, but no one's ever there to tell me how righteous I am. All right. You guys know I need this. I hated myself for putting this in, but yeah, we got another RX-24 bot. It was a fun little scene, if anything else, Mando. Plus he gave us the old weapons are his religion line, which is a callback to season 1. So love it. What are we saying in the chat here? So once he gets Matt's never wrong. LLL. That's right. There you go. Props. So start sharing my content then, buddy. Let's go. Okay. This one here, I don't think anyone picked up on because they're not goofy like me, but Homeboy was wearing a range trooper coat, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it
definitely looks
that is a dead nuts range trooper coat from Solo. Look it up. It's legit. Rhodians for the first time, I believe, in Book of Boba. We've seen a lot of other famous alien types so far in the series, but we got Rhodians, and really this moment obviously had some meaning when, Din couldn't even look at it. I mean, couldn't even interact with this little kid because he's feeling so down. And as the armorer said, like, yo, you can't, you're not working this thing right because your mind's disconnected. Just like Yoda was saying to Luke, like, hey, you're never here in the present. You're always looking to the future and other shit, asshole. Focus on the here and now. So Din's experiencing a little Luke wah, like, wah, my friend's gone. So Din, Luke Skywalker, the comparisons are getting closer and closer. BD, and it is not BD1. All right, it is not BD1. It's just a BD droid. That's how it was listed in the captions. This is not Cal's BD1. It's just a BD droid, but man, it was great to get one in live action because they are cool droids. They seem to have a personality, kind of like the pit droids, because they're not full automatons, arms and legs, but unlike an astromech, they do have body parts, so there is a little more emotion going on. So it was nice to see a BD show up in the show. Plus, we got a Womp Rat sighting and mention. And then, of course, the return of Nick's favorite character, Pelimoto, and the droids. And you got to include them. Hell, they even put Peli and the droids on our character poster yesterday, Nick. So they're 100% apart, the same. Yeah. Like they are one in the same. They are a group. They come together. If any of the droids ever perish, it will be a sad day in all of Star Wars. You know, you got the little shithead pit droids. You got R5 hanging out, trying to make up for blowing his motivator way back when. And then the good old Treadwell. All right, the whole N1, that was fun, right? I mean, big time egg to the prequel era, Phantom Menace in particular. And, you know, we got to appreciate what they did to it.
I love all the made up shop talk that they were talking to. Like,
I'm glad you said that, because we had a person on YouTube that watches one of the few people that watches the breakdown, and I think it's like Blaze or something, but he gave a very personal tale about why the scene of them cranking on the N1 was such a great scene. And he's like, man, it just reminded me of me and my dad when we'd crank on a car, and or you know, talking about all these crazy parts and doing this to the Boomba gasser and blah blah blah. It's just like, apparently, you know, Grease Monkeys really kind of had an emotional attachment to that whole dynamic of Peli and Din wrenching on the ship and getting off-market parts from the Jawas and all that fun stuff. It was great.
Also, like, I mean, again, dude, like, Peli's the best character in this whole Mando-verse, because she's like, oh yeah, I fucking dated a Jawa once. Like, that whole little thread of just like, oh, she's furry.
Yeah, it's but it's not even that. After that, like, Sedaris, I don't know if this is in the script, but then she goes like, she makes faces like doing the, like what Jawas look like when they talk, and then she even speaks Jawa'ese. So it was, she really is, man. And like I said in my breakdown, her and Mando are one of the best pairings of Star Wars characters to date. I mean, really, they're brilliant together. They're just great. And hey, look at the growth Din has had. When he first showed up, he was threatening her droids and, you know, kicking them away. Now he's thanking them for their help. So even Din can grow and learn to love droids after the trauma he experienced during the Clone Wars.
Do you think that he'll eventually get an astromech to put in the N1?
No, I think that N1 was specifically gutted out, as she said, for one purpose only. And I think that's for another tiny passenger. So yeah, I do. I don't think he's ever going to roll like the Skywalkers or Rey or whoever with a dedicated astromech.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got here? Yeah, all the stuff was fun. Peli gave us a faster than a Fathier line, and I wrote that down. He's like, that probably means something. And sure shit, those were those dopey, like, deer horse looking things from the Canto Bite racing segment, everyone's favorite in Star Wars.
Yeah.
These guys, this poll has actually shown up a few times in The Mandalorian. I think it was like background fodder in Mandalorian Season 1 when he was trying to go into the clients, but then you got the Jawas. I mean, the story itself was great. I mean, they just, these little cocksuckers, just like, I can see them like, all right, go. They roll under a pike ship and start ripping stuff out to fucking sell it. Yeah. All because Din asked them for one. But yeah, the reason we're talking about this bar is it's the same style that Leia, Han, and Luke used to brace the trash compactor in A New Hope. Yeah. But it's just like, you know what? I mean, they are. Those are Jawas. I mean, if they would be the ones, if you parked your nice car in a seedy part of town and you came back, it would be fully stripped and sitting on the cinder blocks. I mean, that's what they did. It's like Din's like, yeah, where the fuck did they get this engine piece on Tatooine? And, you know, Peli's like, hey, Tatooine, you know, yields many surprises or something. So, good stuff, man. This is why I love Star Wars. Fuck it. All right.
You get the I mean, like, I don't even know if you could have added this, but like they made a mention of the J-type engine that they used in it, and that's the same type engine that
For Padme's,
Qui-Gon needed.
Yeah, Padme's cruiser. Needed. Well, hey, see, you should have went after the show, Nick. Go to my breakdown and tell me I'm an idiot because I missed that. maybe I'll get another 2 or 3 views and go for it.
Idiot! You missed the J-type engine.
I don't know what's going on in the chat. That's Fabio. Who's Fabio? All right, maybe explain, Trevor. I'm not getting that reference. That's Fabio from ACBA.
I don't know what
okay, so when they do fire up the heavily modded N1, a very radical looking N1, it was like it was a sound orgy in terms of references to, in particular, the Phantom Menace, the pod racers, the N1s themselves, Padme's ship. I mean, it feels like they just mixed all that shit together when he turned on those engines and then clearly started taking his test run. And this was, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I've come full circle in the prequels. I do appreciate them. I'm never gonna say they're my favorite, but seeing him kind of just let loose on the throttle and watching that thing zip over Mos Eisley and the residents looking up like, what the fuck is that? And then he goes right into the pod race track. I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, now this is pod racing, that type of shit when he's zipping through like the not Beggar's Canyon yet, but where you had all these big rock structures, and it was almost identical shots to what we were getting from Anakin's cockpit in the pod race, rolling up on Beggar's Canyon, which is a heavily referenced location in Tatooine. I mean, it's been referenced since A New Hope. We even saw a Womp Rat hanging out in Beggar's Canyon as Din was about to come through the turns. Guess who used to fly his T-16 Skyhopper through it and blast Womp Rats? That's right, Luke Skywalker. Hell, we can argue that's the only reason the rebels let him pilot an X-Wing, because his buddy Big said, yo, this motherfucker could blast Womp Rats from a T-16 back home. So all that, just beautiful stuff. This is why you got to appreciate Jon Favreau and then his kind of living encyclopedia, Dave Filoni. And there's the ramp, a direct shot. I did not get too nitty gritty, but I mean, someone did point out the smashed fence pieces are still there from when Anakin crashed through it in his race against Sebulba and launched himself to ultimately get closer to the lead. So it's just, you gotta love those fine touches. Only assholes like me or other people that are super nerdy about Star Wars would pick up on it, but the fact that the team takes that time to make sure those references are there, it's just beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff coming out of the Favreau and Filoni verse. And just to kind of wrap up the litany of references we got when Din took his test drive, what does he start doing at the end? Spins, like our buddy Anakin, right? Our buddy Anakin loved spinning that thing too. Thought he was hot shit, as did Din.
And then,
right? And then he gets pulled over. So.
Yeah.
But even
that whole interaction.
Yeah, we even got this was our first cameo here, Nick. The other pilot, Lieutenant Reed, was played by Max Lloyd-Jones, is the guy who was the guy that played Luke in The Mandalorian itself. So,
that's awesome.
It seems like once you get in here. Once you get into this production, it seems you can pick up other odd jobs, as we've seen with this actor Chris Bartlett, who apparently any non-speaking role that requires either a droid costume or an alien costume, he gets. I was reading a story about this guy. He's like living out his dream, just playing background characters. He's done it in Kenobi and in Book of Boba now. So it's like, again, I lament my situation in life. What the fuck am I doing? Why am I in my basement talking about this when I could be like a short guy that gets, background parts in Star Wars making, $200 a show? I think I would trade off, but oh well. Life is passing me by. But we also get our dude, Captain Carson Teva, played by Paul Sun-Hyung Lee. This was a character established in Mandalorian Season 2. He is the wingman of Trapper Wolf, played by our Lord and Savior of Star Wars, Dave Filoni. Whoa! There's a bonus little add to Filoni's name. And then at the end, probably one of the cheekiest moments references is right at when he finishes the flight and Peli asks him how it was. We get, wizard. I love it. You gotta love the fact that Din, the whole time he's dropping swear words, but when he lands, he references our boy Kitster's favorite line and gives us a wizard. So, I mean, the episode clearly had a shit ton of eggs, not really eggs, but a shit ton of references. It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, if the guy from ACBA podcast is getting to be background, sign me up, Trevor. I'll figure it out. I can't do it for myself.
What's ACBA?
It's like they do toy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. They do.
Okay.
I think it's like articulated comic book art is what it stands for.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So now into the key moments. Nick, I'll be honest with you. I was surprised to see that Din went right back to bounty hunting, and
that's exactly what I was going to say.
And he's taking damage from himself. I think that plays into kind of your setup for Din. You're calling, the dumpster kid, the bullet sponge, but right away the guy, because he doesn't quite know how to handle the Darksaber, or he's so emotionally fucked that he can't handle it properly. I mean, he drags it right into his quad,
his own,
and fucks himself up more than we've seen him fucked up outside of when he almost died in season 1, episode 8.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that too. Like, the first time you're using a lightsaber, even if it doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds, it's like you don't realize that like if this thing touches you, you're going to get really fucked up.
Yeah. So far, he had only been used to having it hit his Beskar. He didn't quite understand that his jumpsuit wouldn't protect him the same, and it burned him good. I mean, so it wasn't just a burn. I mean, the guy could hardly even walk by the end. He fell down the steps as he returned to the covert. But it was the whole bounty hunting thing, and I know he kind of used it as a side job to get information versus the bounty. But the fact, I mean, it's like. I look at it as a way, it's almost his way to deal with the loss of Grogu. Like, you know what? That little thing was such a big part of my life. Yeah, I got exposed to all this other big galaxy stuff with Mandalorians and Gideon, but I know where I'm comfortable. I know what can kind of take my mind off of all the shit I just went through. I'm going back to getting pucks and looking for shitheads.
Yeah, it's just... I never thought that, like, in that situation at the end of season 2, like, that everything would just, like, go back to normal. Like, oh, yeah, like, Bo-Katan, I guess he won it in fair combat, so it's yours. Like, and she just lets him go and do whatever he wants, and they go back to doing whatever the fuck that they were doing, and then...
Right.
And then it does seem weird that he's legitimately just like, okay, another day at the office again.
But I mean, in the end, it was ultimately to get back to his covert. And, we were reminded in this episode again, the whole thing with Grogu, as much as they bonded, it was a quest given to him by his leader. And as she said, when he comes back, she's like, hey, oh, you completed your quest? Well, you are now able to join our covert again and work for us. So it is almost like you got to remember the guy's fucked up. I mean, he's been brainwashed his whole life. There's only a few moments where he kind of became his own person and made decisions for himself that went against the creed. Outside of that, he's programmed to live by that creed. So yeah, he's like, you know what? Quest completed. I'm going back to bounty hunting, and I need to find my covert. So I guess I bought into it. It's just interesting to see it, but that's why this episode I think serves season 3 so well, because it gets all this little shit out of the way, and we can jump right into what I think is going to be the big narrative moving forward. Gideon and his fate, and then obviously Din wanting to reclaim his Mandalorian title, which is going to involve a lot, and is probably going to potentially almost spur a civil war between the Mandos. And we've heard the leaks about Din calling out to the galaxy to get a group of Mandos. So I really think the narrative shifts heavy to his quest to get back to Mandalore and redeem himself.
Seems so. Yeah. I mean, I hope that he kind of has his eyes opened in a way that says like, hey, maybe living in fucking random holes with 2 other people who don't interact with anybody else is probably not a good idea.
And we'll probably get there. If not, I have notes to remind us. But yeah, I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes with the armorer and what her kind is up to. Yeah. If you really love Mandalore and you're so sad that you've lost it, why not try to band together with all living Mandos to take it back? Yeah, I mean,
reestablish it, something.
And like I said, the fact that it took Sam Witwer in a tweet saying, "Oh, it's funny you're saying Bo-Katan's a cautionary tale, yet you're the one still whipping horns on your helmet." So I think there's something to that, but we'll get there. All right, so next key moment, clearly he finds his flock again, and this is where we really got some Darksaber lore hammered out, at least as it's going to be now in this canon. And like I said, we got the curse fully explained, and Mandalore did fall, or at least if you believe in curses, because Bo did not win it by combat. He then rejoins the covert. We get the whole, this is the way. It always reminds me of like, and also with you, and all that shit from my Catholic days. But we also get the other side of the Darksaber lore, which is one warrior will defeat 20, and the multitude will fall before it. All right, and then again, if it's not one, Mandalore will be cursed, laid to waste, and its people scattered to the four winds, which is where we are at now. I mean, whether it was a curse or not, Mandalore fell to the Empire, and it fell hard. And they no longer have their planet, and they are scattered across the galaxy. So I just liked getting that, kind of getting the backstory of the Darksaber. All the legend behind it is now out there and canonized again in the Mando-verse.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, like Jared's saying here, I mean, you might as well run with it. Do you think the Armorer is her sect, as she calls it, and it is a sect? Are they what's left of Death Watch, or were they like a more hardcore part of Death Watch, or are they the remnants of Maul's super commandos?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. It's also hard to kind of track from here, because I mean, you would imagine that the remnant of Maul's super commandos would have probably been dealt with. I mean, actually what happened was the remnant of Maul's super commandos became these super commandos in the Imperial Army. Right,
Gar Saxon, and I mean, he exactly. Sold out hardcore to work with the Empire, but she seems to hate the Empire and was mocking it, like, hey, the Empire was only around for 30 years, fuck them.
That's what I was saying. That's why I was saying, like, I don't necessarily think that they're a part of like Mandalorians necessarily, because we've already kind of seen their story play out through Rebels with the Super Commandos. I mean, I think that more than likely that they are kind of like a sect of Death Watch that kept that kind of credo. And
well, we got to remember, at least in Clone Wars, the Creed didn't exist. I mean, fucking pre-Vizsla, Bo, when she was in it, they all had their helmets off. So it's almost like, I mean, the Creed itself could be horseshit. It could be something that they've only been following for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, the Creed itself is definitely horseshit. I mean, we know that already. I mean, I feel like it's like she's a cult leader. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, so she is a cult leader. She's somebody who preys on disinformed, uninformed, or very gullible people,
or orphans.
And
remember, a lot of these motherfuckers are foundlings. Like, she's essentially taking kids off the street and indoctrinating them in the way.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that she has any affiliate. I don't even think that she had affiliation with the original Death Watch. I mean, like, I don't know how old this person is. We probably will never know how old she is. But like, if she's in her late 30s, she's still too young to even know what Death Watch properly was.
Well, I'd say we probably put her at least Bo-Katan age, so mid 40s, 50s. Because I mean, she really, when she talks about, and I was going to get there, but when she talks about the Great Purge and how she was able to survive, is like, well, my people, we were on the moon in Concordia. Well, who else? Who ruled the fucking moon? Death Watch. I mean, pre Vizsla was the governor of Concordia. So just hear me out. I mean, this is Matt pulling out his ass stuff. Could she be the remnant of Death Watch that neither wanted to follow Bo-Katan and become the Night Owls and kind of get back to Mandalorian society, and also didn't want to follow Pre and Maul, because to me that's still a betrayal of the way in Mandalore itself, following an outsider. Yeah. Could she be someone that made a stand like, listen, I'm not going with either one of you fucking people. I'm breaking off my own sect on Concordia, and we're going to start falling into this creed so we don't end up like the Kreeses and we don't end up like the Vizslas, who both, through their actions and who they align themselves with, ultimately led to the downfall of Mandalore itself. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because there's no other section or sect of Mandalorians that she really falls in line with. Right. Like, okay. You know, the horns thing on the helmet. I mean, the Mandalorians, they sided with Darth fucking Maul because he won the saber in combat, but he sold them all out. I mean, he used them in the final season of the Clone Wars to try and get Anakin Skywalker to Mandalore so he could kill him before he became Darth Vader. I mean, he laid that out. That was it. I mean, he even leaves. He's like, hey, Gar Saxon, die a glorious death, motherfucker. I know that's all you guys care about. I'm out. So you would have to think those that followed Maul would never buy into a creed that the Armorer is following and promotes. Yeah. And we know those that left with Bo left Death Watch to go back to try to not be a shithead anymore. They would not buy into that shit. They told us as much when Axe is like, oh, he's a nut job. So it's almost like she saw the split happening with the Kreese way of trying to rule Mandalore and the Death Watch Vizsla way of trying to rule Mandalore. And she's like, this is still goes against Mandalorian culture, creed, whatever. I'm locking shit down. We're drinking Kool-Aid. We're indoctrinating. We're going to get a place in Waco, Texas to set up shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like that's probably the most likely, is that she didn't want to go either way. So she was just like, I'll take who's coming with me.
Right.
Who's coming with me?
It happens all the time. We can see it in our own society with certain religions and pastors. Like if you've got a message and people are feeling down, they'll listen to fucking anything. They'll believe in anything. They'll follow anyone and do anything. All right. Yeah. I mean, Adolf Hitler, not a great guy, but
when
look,
you rescue kids and they only learn from you, right? You can make them believe anything you want to.
Exactly. Okay. I mean, the horns on her helmet, definitely interesting. Whitwer, chiming in, interesting. I know a lot of people for years now have been like, could this be Rook Kast, who was essentially one of Maul's lieutenants? She and Gar Saxon were the ones that broke him out of the prison that Dooku and Sidious put him in between seasons of the Clone Wars. But still, she was a loyal follower of Darth Maul up until the end. I mean, I know we didn't quite see her fate, and she doesn't really show up again in Rebels, unlike Saxon, who completely sold out to the Empire. But that's my point. It's the Mandalorian Mandos sold out their own planet almost immediately when the Empire took over. So I don't think they would then become someone like the Armorer.
Yeah.
All right.
Hard to believe.
It's good stuff. I mean, this is why I live. This is why I love Star Wars. It's this shit, like the nuancy stuff. You know, who's the Armorer? Where does she come from? Why does she think this way? What happened to her? Right? What was going on that moon of Concordia? All right, what else? Okay, you know what? This is another thing. Most people probably could have just thrown this out the door and not worried about it. But I loved learning the fate of the spear and why she melted it down. And it does make sense until I think someone brought up, well, then why do they make whistling birds? And that is a very good point, because I do believe the whistling birds, at least the projectiles, are forged of Beskar. So technically they do use Beskar to make weapons, but her sell to him is like, listen, motherfucker, this thing existing, period, is a risk to all Mandalorians, because this is one of only weapons in the galaxy that can pierce our armor. So we got to get rid of this shit. Beskar should always only be made for armor.
Yeah, I mean, the whistling birds thing has always been like a... They kind of threw out the canon on that pretty quickly, because they're like, use it wisely, and then every other fucking episode, dude's got new whistling birds.
Yeah, I mean, he just emptied pellets in this episode into the weapons locker. So
yeah, I mean, this motherfucker's got whistling birds coming out of his ass.
Right.
So like, clearly they don't have a problem making those.
It could have been off screen. Like, did you have a BB gun when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And you remember the copperheads, like the BBs, you could buy like half-gallon milk jugs of them.
Just big ass.
Yeah, maybe he has one of those, off screen we've never seen, right?
Yeah, he's just got like she just made a whole bunch of them at one time.
Ton of them. They're like BBs. He just reloads them when he needs them. So, but either way, I mean, her point was kind of valid, and it made sense that someone like Morgan would have had this weapon, which not only can defend against lightsabers, but could also pierce Mandalorians. And the fact that she was a lieutenant of Thrawn should not be lost on people, because he either gave it to her or he knows that same concept of, if we have Beskar weapons, we can fuck shit up.
Stand up to anybody.
Yeah, we can fuck up those space wizards and the greatest warriors are Spartans of the galaxy for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Kind of back to the Great Purge. I think we've gone through this. Her explaining like, hey, my people survived because of the Creed, and we were on the moon. Which bullshit. That's a crock of shit. Other Mandos survived that did not believe in the Creed, and we can name 3 of them, and I'm sure there's more. But Axe Woves, Cosca Reeves, and Bo-Katan would call bullshit on that line from the Armorer. But you get that history. If you have not watched Clone Wars and Rebels in particular, you get the Mandalorian history laid out in the Moon of Concordia, and how there was a group of Mandos that lived there because they broke away from modern Mandalorian society, which they thought became too soft under Duchess Satine. So you can see how someone that might have been on the moon is more hardcore in the kind of the ancient ways of Mandalore, right? Because I mean, they initially split from the main planet because they did not jive with how the Kreeses wanted to rule Mandalore in a more modern fashion. Like, listen, we don't all have to be running around in our Beskar fucking killing each other to get things done. We can try to rule with some civility and government versus war. All right, and then that great scene, the T-800 K2s. Love it. I almost need to fire up Terminator at this point. Blah, blah, blah. Insights, learning to... I think I have these screens up just because... And believe me, nothing gets said in these shows for fun. The fact that Din kind of has a light bulb moment with the Armorer when she's discussing how the Jedi don't believe in attachment, and like, dude, should he really be your foundling anymore? Because that goes against the Jedi creed. And he's sitting down thinking, he's like, that's completely opposite of our way. He is my foundling. I do believe in loyalty. I do believe in solidarity. And, so you kind of get that laid out, and the fact that Din is not going to buy into, no, I mean, just because he's a Jedi, I'm not going to just disconnect myself from this little fucker. Maybe this and Din's belief that, hey, our creed sans the weird shit, the helmet stuff, and this is the way nonstop. Our creed has some good points about sticking together, family bonds, solidarity, and loyalty. So, hey, Luke, you might want to fucking try that out on your new batch of Jedis. And, maybe Din influences Luke. Maybe Luke influences Din moving forward. Maybe there's a bit of back and forth. But if he's going to find his little guy, I don't know how the man himself isn't included in that interaction.
Yeah.
I like the training. I know the heavy shit aside, I just liked hearing her speak. Was it Mandoa? I think that's the first time we got their native language spoken in live action. And Is that the first time we've ever heard it outside? Did they do it in KOTOR? Did we get like Mandoa text in KOTOR or not?
I don't think so. But then again, I mean, you don't really interact with too many Mandalorians.
You know what it is? I feel maybe it was their names seemed more Mandoa-like, right? Like their names, a lot of them had apostrophes in it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that. Yeah, I mean, the guys in fucking all the KOTOR characters are in Galaxy Heroes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like Canderous Ordo,
yeah.
but I don't know. I feel like some of the whatever. I think I'm just making stuff up at this point. It has been a while since I played.
I don't think that they spoke Mandoa.
Not necessarily speaking it, but I felt like their names were more reflective of the language. Because when I had the closed captioning up, like everything she said would be like 2 letters, apostrophe, and then the Oa, like Teoa, Hua, Su, whatever the hell she was saying. I mean, everything had an apostrophe. I believe some of the, like, at least the armored Mandalorians in KOTOR, like their names were kind of spelled that way. But again,
maybe so.
I think at this point I'm just generalizing and probably making shit up. But you know what I did like about their fight outside, you know, the heavy thing aside? When she starts like showing him like quit being a fucking dope and daps him on the helmet, but then grabs her tongs underneath and is like, I got you right now. I could de-Mandalorian you and take your helmet off. Like, I don't know if anyone noticed that, but she specifically grabs the lip of his helmet with her tongs to show him, you know, he's beat, and she could remove his helmet and piss on the way if she wanted to. I was not surprised that Paz brought the challenge. I mean, if you just looked at the guy's body language and just the questions he was asking after he realized that Din had the Vizsla family saber in his possession, it was a matter of time before he came at him to make the challenge to try to get it through combat. And I guess it's clear, and this might bode well for Din if Bo really does want it, but it doesn't look like you have to win with a flawless victory. It doesn't seem like a finish him has to be a part of this ceremony for the Darksaber. It seems if they yield, or if someone else says yield, that's considered a victory. I figured with these nut jobs, especially the Creed followers, it would be to the death. But
yeah, death or nothing.
So. It's either that or the armor is like, oh shit, Din is Din is pretty fucking special. I don't want to get on his, I don't want him fucking with me, so I'm gonna make him feel like shit and say he's not a Mandalorian anymore. So I'm just gonna call the end of the match and then see if he's taking his helmet off. So that
also, like, she probably realizes, like, there's only 3 of us.
Yeah,
and if he kills that guy, there's only really just me.
Yeah, because she's thinking like, man, if he kills the big guy and then I ask him about his helmet and he says he's taking it off, it's over, folks. Like, my covert's done. Like, I will be the last Creed following Mandalorian. So yeah, she put an end to that. But he kicked his ass, right? Din's the man. I'm telling you. She even says, and maybe it was just to make him feel better about stealing his spear, but she's like, listen, the Darksaber is a more noble weapon for you to wield, Din, more or less. So he's special. We know this, but I think the universe and even his own people, and maybe she has known all along, but don't sleep on Din for being a bullet sponge the rest of his life. I mean, as well as just a hunter. I think they have grand plans for this dude.
It also just goes to show you, like, how bad all the fucking bunker kids are at actually fighting. Because, like, if he's the best that they have, doesn't bode well if they actually fight people who don't live underground their whole life.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and Paz has not shown out too well himself. I mean, outside of his heroics and saving Mando and flying in, leading the charge, and then saying goodbye, I mean, in melee combat, he sucks. I mean, Din, a Mando smaller than him, less girthier than him, shorter than him, has bested him twice in hand-to-hand. I mean, he kicked his dick in this fight. I mean, he was slashing the back of his legs, stabbing his legs. It was like he was cutting his knee tendons out. I mean, he fucked them up.
Yeah, he definitely learned something by being out in the world a little bit, for sure. So,
yeah, you go back to Paz like, oh, you bounty hunting for the Empire, you shithead. Well, you know what, buddy? Maybe you should be out there in the real world doing some jobs too, because you can't fight with your fists to save your life. All right?
Yeah.
that is canon at this point in time. Just like Wookiees having teeth in their assholes thanks to Peacemaker. I'm telling you, man, gotta watch the show. It's just fucking brilliant shit. But back to The Mandalorian. Okay, so this builds upon just his love for Grogu. But we had that awkward silence when she goes through the ceremony, which seems to be a thing. Like anytime these two have a fight, she makes them kind of recite the creed. Like, oh no, I'm never taking my helmet off, of course. This is the way. Have you taken your helmet off? And he's like, how should I respond to this?
Yeah, it's like,
and she's like, motherfucker, did you take your helmet off? And he's like, yeah. And just like that, she strips him of the title. So like I've seen in some memes, the next season will just be The Man Season 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but this is, to me, I think it needed to happen to Din. Now, while I do believe his main motivation outside of seeing Grogu is going to be to redeem himself in her eyes, I do think the journey he gets himself into will ultimately wake him up to not only his true potential, but what he can do for Mandalorians and Mandalore itself. And in the end, even if it comes to blows with the armor, I think Din will be okay not being considered a Mandalorian in the cult's eyes when this is all said and done.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with
but that is, I mean, the fact that she even says, like, they tee this up for idiots like me. He's like, can I just say sorry or something? Like, how can I, come on, please, mom, how can I get back in your good graces? And she lays it out for him. She's like, hey, yeah, you got to go to the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore. And he's like, that shit's fucking blowed up, lady. And she's like, this is the way.
Good luck.
Which was her way of saying, go fuck yourself. You know,
figure it out.
You took your helmet off. You asked me how you can get back in my good graces. This is it. So I think that is going to be his initial. We could almost call it the MacGuffin for season 3. Like I think his initial intentions are going to be to redeem himself in the eyes of the cult, but that is going to lead to a hornet's nest of other Mandalorian society type of issues that he's going to have to address. And clearly, we need the Bo-Katan side brought back in as well, because there's 3 factions at this point: the Ding Dongs, the Creeds, the Owls and their followers, and then the Din. Like, the Din is truly one of a kind at this point in time. He's not with the Owls. He's no longer with the Creed. This is the first time really since he was found that he is kind of his own man, hence the Man. Peli, of course, and the new ship thing. But I think some of the nuance drops that she made, like, hey, dude, I know it's not a Razor Crest, and by the way, people, does everyone understand that the Razor Crest was the model name of his ship? That was not his name for it or his license plate.
It's not like the Millennium Falcon.
No, because there's even people now there's even people now trying to get in on, like, oh, what are they going to call the new N1? They don't want to offend Razors anymore, so I'm sure they can't call it Razor. The Razor Crest is the type of ship, just like the Slave One is called a fire spray, and the Falcon is a Carillion freighter. All right, like, come on with the fucking names. But if you're gonna get pissy, at least know what you're talking about. The Razor Crest was a model name. It was not the ship's name. It was even proven in here. He's like, yo, you didn't find another Razor Crest? What the fuck's wrong with you? I don't want this piece of shit. But the way she was selling it, it all makes sense, right? It's Galactic Republic era. It has not been put into the database. It's a perfect ship for someone like Din Djarin. Can't be tracked. It can't be pinged. He essentially is a ghost. I mean, he is in a ghost ship that it's been proven nothing can even catch it even before it jumps to hyperspace. I mean, I loved when that was one of the best moments when, Teva's like, hey, man, you sound familiar. Do you mind maybe me asking some questions? And as Din's looking at him, his fingers flicking the switch, and he's like, feet don't feel me now. He's just like, just disappears. That was fantastic.
Teva's reaction was so great too, because the guy's like, should we go after him? And he's like, dude, do you want to fucking sit there and file all this bullshit? Like, no, I don't want to have to deal with this. Bye. Like, what did he do?
And that's why, I mean, hopefully down the road, maybe they roll Bo-Katan into it or something. But I would like that the Rangers of the New Republic. I would like that series because I do think it would have included the Tevas, the Trapper Wolves, kind of the randos of the New Republic, and just seeing what they were getting into, because it's kind of fun. They're kind of like highway patrolmen at this point in time. But what else are they getting to in their day? But yeah, that was a fun scene. I love that stuff. But everything with Peli, we don't need to talk much more about her. I'm 100% in agreement with Nick. She is an amazing character. I'm so glad that she has been created and that Sedaris keeps coming back and bringing her to life. I mean, talk about just getting a fantastic role that probably doesn't require a ton of work, but you are now a legend within the Star Wars universe, at least to people like Nick and myself. Her the dating the Jawas and the furry. Did you catch the moment where she's talking about dating a Jawa and one of the Jawas asks her out and she's like, "Nah, I'm working on me right now." It's just fantastic. I wonder, do you think Sedaris is going all script, or do you think they let her riff a bit on set?
Oh, they let her riff.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure. They'll let her improvise and stuff like that. Yeah. When you have somebody like that.
What has she been in before? I mean, is she a comedian? Is she from like a comedic group or something? Or she just has great timing and delivery?
I mean, to my knowledge, she's like primarily a writer. Okay. Like she's like a good comedy writer. Trying to see, she was in a ton of Running with Scissors and stuff like that. I mean,
I feel like she could also be she feels like a character that could also be in Ted Lasso for some reason. I don't know. It's just the way she delivers her lines. She's got that snark to her. That's just, it's brilliant. I mean, it even can make silly stuff like, dating a Jawa, and then she throws in they're really furry. Or when she, not even speaking Jawaese, but she goes like, she like squishes her face together and is mimicking them talking. She's brilliant. Brilliant.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of character acting, voice acting, stuff like that. She created and wrote the Strangers with Candy series. She created and wrote some other stuff too, At Home with Amy Sedaris, which was on for 3 years.
I mean, she's an all-around creative then. So she is like maybe I align her with Lasso because of Sudeikis, but Sedaris, they kind of got the same skill set, writing, but also being able to deliver comedy just fantastically. So there you go. Props is buying into my Ted Lasso comparison. There's just something about her. But really the reason this is in key moments, it's not to just idolize the great Peli Motto, but she was the one to at least infuse a little bit of Book of Boba Fett narrative into it when she casually explains man, these fucking Pikes, they're taking over, making things hard, they're running Tatooine at this point in time. So Boba's problem is being felt by everyone on Tatooine this at this point. So there was your second loose connection to the Book of Boba Fett in this episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And then obviously this tricked out N1. Do you think we'll get a name for it, or does Mando not name ships?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like he runs with names because I mean, he like you said, he was just calling the Razor Crest the Razor Crest. He didn't name it anything.
Yeah,
special.
I mean, yeah, like you grew up in a creed. There's probably no fun, no laughter, no nothing. So yeah, he's like, "Oh, just give me a ship, Razor Crest." Yeah. You know, I need to go get my bounties. Just all angry all the time, and like, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way. I mean, they remind me of like those people from Da Vinci Code, right? That order that would beat themselves with the cattails and whatnot. And I mean, that's kind of the Armorer's Mandalorian creed.
Yeah, man, they're fucking psychos.
Yeah, they're like what, zealots, something like that, fanatics, you name it.
Zealots. Yeah.
But I mean, just we got the ship up on the live stream. If you're looking, if not, you can check it up on the post. But I mean, look at that thing. The N1s,
it looks badass.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the N1s are already cool looking, but I like that they scrubbed it down but still left some of the yellow in there, very Mando-ish, but you got like the hood scooped out with the bigger engine.
Yeah, I was gonna say the engine hanging over. Like when he first turned it on, I was like, is this engine literally just gonna pop right in front of you and shoot off into the air?
But I love how they made it shimmy and shake like a big American muscle car would, though. I mean, it's like you don't really see that in Star. I mean, really, the Falcon's one of the only ships that would start sounding like a jalopy. But this one fired up kind of like when my neighbor fires up his 70s Camaro or whatever. It's like, I mean, you can feel it within the cul-de-sac, and I think that was kind of the same with Mando's N1. But it's badass. I mean, look at it looks like you got better cannons on the front. There's some attachments under the engines. I don't know if there are more boosters or more weapons. The tail's been trimmed down a little bit to expose more of the rear engine. I don't know. It's fucking sweet. It sounds sweet. Yeah, it flies awesome. Like a dream. And as much as Mando was kind of hating the idea, I think by the end with him saying wizard that he is 100% down with his new ship at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm someone that even if this only comes out TVC or 1/18 scale, I'm grabbing one of these motherfuckers. It's too cool and already an iconic looking ship in Star Wars. And how about that? I mean, it's not even a week old, and I'm calling it iconic looking here. The deal with Fennec at the end. I mean, that doesn't surprise me that he's like, hey, this one's on the house. But this is where I want to get into a bit of speculation now, Nick. So I really feel like with the way this exchange goes down between Fennec and Din, that they have painted themselves in a hole for the remaining 2 episodes into where you have to address the reunion now. Like, even if it's just a casual 5-minute scene off planet, we Din is already there and meeting Grogu. But unless the Book of Boba Fett is going to get a second season and the war extends into that, I don't know how you don't directly pick up Din reuniting with Grogu over the next 2 episodes. What say you?
I mean, I feel like they could touch on that in season 3. I don't think you need to end with it, especially if he is like okay, committing to like helping them. I feel like it would be odd if it's like, okay, I'm going to help you, and then, well, before I help you, let me go drop off this set of chainmail real quick. It would have to come at the very, very end, if anything. Like he like finishes off his duty to Fennec and Boba, and then kind of hops in the N1 and.
But that's the point. That's what I'm saying. He specifically says to Fennec, "Listen, I'll help. It's on the house, but I have to go see someone first." So that's what I mean. They've painted themselves into a corner here. I mean, Din has to have the reunion before he comes back to help in the war. So what I was saying, if they choose not to show the reunion over the final 2 episodes of the Book of Boba, then the Book of Boba has to get another season where the war is resolved or played out with Din coming back. So I do think tomorrow we're going to be seeing more of our guy and the little guy and potentially the guy in Luke, or, I know this has been floated around that if they do go to Maz's castle, which wouldn't be too far off of a stretch, because maybe they could even throw in an Easter egg of how she ended up with the Skywalker family blade finally. But if they head to the castle, if that's where he is going to find Grogu, think about the potential there for characters to show up outside of Luke, Grogu. Yeah. You could have Chewie. You could have a casual Han spotting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, I don't know. It feels like they have to address this, and there's a good chance we may be getting more Mandalorian in the Book of Boba Fett as soon as Episode 6.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like I would have preferred them to actually save that for the actual Mandalorian season.
That's
3.
what I mean. It's
but
they have to address it. They have to address it, in my opinion.
And it's not like they're making these decisions. It's not like they had multiple episodes of each, like multiple iterations of each episode built up because they're like, oh no, the fans don't like it. We gotta switch to Mando mode.
They don't give a fuck about what we think.
Yeah, I mean, they really don't.
People, this shit's been written years ago, filmed over a year ago. I mean, it was ending filming about this time last year. So
so it's surprising that they actually decided like this is the avenue for this show.
Yeah, so I don't know. I could see Episode 6. All right, we got to deal with the Din stuff, but maybe the second half is the other part of Boba's army. Maybe folding in some of the big name bounty hunters, because Fennec didn't say that line in Episode 4 to just go and get Din Djarin. I mean, I think it opens potential, like I was saying last week on the solo cast. She could be hitting up the Assassin's Guild. We could get Ochi of Bastoon. We could get the bounty hunters from the Executor deck, right? The Bosks, the IGs, you name it. And I'm thinking Episode 6 is kind of the final culmination of Boba rounding up the army, and then 7 is the big payoff, the riding of the Rancor in the actual battle. Now it will be interesting, like Props is saying in the stream chat here. Do Luke and Grogu come with Din to help? Would that be something they would want to help? Because in the end, it might be for a crime lord, but he's doing it to help the people of Tatooine and free them of the Pikes or whatever. Is Crimson Dawn still the true players here? So I guess there's that
Luke's
potential now.
World, so.
Yeah. There you go. He may want to go back and check out the hovel, right? This is before Rey's time, but eventually she's going to come in there and essentially break in and squat in it like a bomb and bury his dad and his mom's, her dad and his sister's lightsaber there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I do not think we have seen... Obviously not the last of Din, but I think we're going to get more just pure Mandalorian-focused content in the Book of Boba before it's all said and done, based on how Fennec and Mando end their conversation. There's no way they can get around it outside of delaying the war and doing more build-up, and then we get at the end, hey, what they used to do in Marvel, Boba Fett will return, that type of shit. And then we know we're getting a second season. But I think they're going to try to wrap this shit up, kind of get Boba to a good spot at the end, position Mando at the end for him to be able to leave and kind of go on his adventure and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, it's Episode 6. Prepare for more of all the the Book of Boba had to rely on Mandalorian to become interesting takes, which are just fucking ridiculous.
And for me too, like I would have been fine if he didn't show up in here. Like, yes, is it the best episode? Yeah, it's because it's the best made episode. I don't think that the story, in fact, like the story itself was like okay. There was like the reason I liked it is because of all the cool shit that happened in it. Like, not necessarily because it was Mando or anything like that. But I think that they could have made the rest of the show without him being in it, and still it would have been a good show.
Yeah. But I mean, I believe you could probably go back to us recapping season 2, episode 8. And when we learned about the Book of Boba, I'm sure both of us were like, yeah, Din is going to be in it. He's been rumored to be in it all along. At one point, I thought Nick was spot on, like they'd only bring him back via flashback, and that's how we see them both. But no, that's not going to be the case. It is present timeline, and like I said at the opening, this is the Mando-verse coming into fruition in full. This is what was promised to us after Mandalorian itself was a success, and Disney via John and Dave decided to expand upon this timeline with the Book of Boba, Ahsoka, and the seemingly dead Rangers of the New Republic. That was set up, pitched to the fan base of, hey, we are now going to have a shared universe, just like Marvel, without saying that part out loud. We are going to have crossover episodes. We're going to have a big fucking Endgame-like finale at some point in time. So you need episodes like this to remind everyone, like, hey, this ain't a Boba Fett silo. It's not a Mando silo. They're all living in the same timeline, interacting, crossing paths, pissing off the same groups, helping each other out. This is what we were promised, and I think it's fucking fantastic. If people are gonna get bent because their Lord Boba isn't who he is in their head based on some bullshit comics they read back in 1984, oh well, get over it. We have a Boba Fett now. He is a real character. He has beliefs. He has motivations now. He has emotions. I love the Book of Boba Fett. That's my guy. I'm fully behind this character now outside of him just looking cool. All right, I've always been able to admit the guy looks cool as fuck. And as George said when I read his comments to you last week, that's the only reason he was popular. He didn't earn his popularity through action. He earned it because he looked fucking cool. Well, yeah. Now that we know he's a person and has motivations, let's see what happens now. Let's see what he starts to do. All right, I've been a fan of this series from episode 1. I'm still a fan after episode 5, even though it completely was devoid of Tem and Boba. But it's all a plan. You know, the same people shitting on this series since episode 1 are the same people that would blow John and Dave if they walked into their living room right now. So they're idiots. Same people that wrote Mandalorian are writing the Book of Boba Fett. Same fucking person. Okay? And it is a grand plan. It is not just Miller time, an episode, we resolve a plot point. All this shit. Ming-Na told us. We told you 3 weeks ago. Wait till you get to the end to truly lay judgment, because there's a good chance your perceptions will be completely changed. Because these guys, and John mostly, I mean, John is the creator of this stuff, people. Filoni only gets a co-writer credit for this episode coming up, which also makes sense now that he's the one writing and directing if we're going to get some Grogu and Luke action. It's like, if you're going to do that, you might as well put it in the hands of George Lucas Jr. But just remember, all right, it's okay. Patience here. It's not like after you watch Captain America, you're like, oh, fuck, yeah, you know, hey, I can see everything now. Yeah, they're going to get things. No, it is a slow burn over a decade to get to that, to the Infinity Wars and the End Games with little things sprinkled in to remind us, yeah, this is all interconnected. So I love what they're doing with the Book of Boba Fett. I see it as no slight to the main character. I see it as all making sense for the big picture, because that's what it is. And guess what? When the Ahsoka series comes around, you may get some Mandalorian or even Boba Fett shit in that. Don't get upset. Yeah. That's part of the plan. As I've been saying in our Discord, trying to, talk some people down, trust in the process. This is John and Dave after all. This isn't Disney. This isn't Kathleen Kennedy. This isn't the fucking story group. This is John and Dave. And in particular, Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau is the guy that created The Mandalorian. He's the guy that came up with Grogu. He's the guy that came up with Din. Sure, Dave has been along for the ride to kind of vet and enhance, but it's the big guy that is writing this stuff. All right? Just keep that in the back of your gray matter the next time you want to get all upset. These aren't the devils and the people trying to piss on your childhood, the enemies you all have created in your mind since Disney took over. These are the people we have been praising since 2019. So just remember that, all right? Okay. So, episode 6, any further thoughts on what you think we're going to see, knowing that this is the Filoni co-written and directed episode? I mean, do we get like a major, like, global Star Wars lore drop on our heads, or is he the caretaker just to make sure, like, the Jedi and Mandalorian beliefs stay within the bounds?
I mean, if this is literally, I mean, like, this has to be the episode where he goes to see Grogu, unless they do it to where it's like, okay, we're going to have, like, now we're going to put in, like, a Boba-centric episode, And then episode 7 is going to be like when Mando does his go off to see Grogu before the war, and then it ends, and then Mandalorian season 3 essentially picks up with him and Boba fighting the Pikes on Tatooine. That's the only other way that I could see it going.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a play on what I said. Like I took it as they would just give Boba Fett another season, but yeah, that would work too. And I don't see that. That's too big of a cliffhanger for the setup that they've been doing in Book of Boba Fett. I feel like this war, at least the Pike War, which I still think is a trick. It's a, it's kind of like some secondhand shit or sleight of hand shit. I do not think the Pikes are these big badass crime syndicates that can take over a planet by themselves. So we very well could see the Book of Boba Fett ending with him conquering the Pikes, but then learning at the very end that he's got much bigger problems because the Pikes were just a kind of
pawn.
The pawn's a diversion for what's really happening in the galaxy, at least in the crime world scene. But I do think episode 6 is going to be heavy on Din again, but not completely devoid of Boba. I could see it being a 50-50 split. Let's get the reunion done. All right, let's see who else Fennec has mustered for Boba's army. And then episode 7, let's get to it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff there. Let me just check my notes at the top. I talked about Din's love. N1 doper than expected. Check. Grogu and Din, the next Mando Jedi hybrid. Check. Armorer, some wing of Death Watch. Check. Mando going to Maz Kanata rumor. Check. And how Din is the true most popular Mandalorian in the fandom. Check. All right. Good stuff. Well, hopefully some of you diehards or even casual listeners got a little more out of that breakdown, but that's what we do. So make sure to tune in or subscribe to the show by going to StarWarsTime.net and finding all of our platform links or our YouTube subscribe button. And don't forget, if you want to talk this shit and get into it, we have a Discord that's open, and we have the publicly available, never expiring link in our Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Just hit that bio link. And I have been having fun. I'll tell you what, Thursday, these motherfuckers almost made me late to teach a class because after I did my round of our top 5 shares, our features for the day, I fired up the Discord in our spoiler section, and I think it was Ted, Tones, Props was in there. And we were just being fans after we just watched that episode and had time to process it and just throwing out theories, ideas. And that's why I like the fandom. I pretty much hate the fandom for everything else that it stands for and the way it behaves. But getting in there with like-minded fans that are interested in my opinion and our opinion in the show and just kind of spitballing what we just watched in fresh Star Wars is always a good time. So if you want to get it mixed up on that, hit up the Discord. All right, so we I don't think we specifically mentioned her name once during the breakdown, which is kind of a travesty. I think Nick threw it out there, but we didn't really focus on it. So now we're going to dedicate a little bit of time to someone who is really kind of coming to the forefront as a director that knows how to direct Star Wars shows. Live action shows at this point. Give her a fucking movie. Her dad did one. I completely enjoy Solo, even though he didn't do it all, but he's the one that saved it and got it in the theaters for us to see. But BDH, Bryce Dallas Howard, really should be celebrated for her work in the Mando-verse to date. Everyone at this point in time can probably call out her episodes by name. I know I can because I'm one of those losers, but I mean, she did The Sanctuary in episode 1 or season 1. That's the one where Din and Kara meet for the first time. She did The Heiress in season 2, which is where we got live action Bo-Katan for the first time. And now she got the return of the Mandalorian. And yes, did an absolutely fantastic job. This woman has an eye for bringing Star Wars to life. So before I know Nick has some words on her. Before we continue to gush over Bryce Dallas Howard, this is one thing I still want everyone to remember. She did not write this episode. Her job was to read the script and screenplay and then bring that story to life. So while I think fans forget that sometimes, that this is not like the sequel trilogy where the director's doing double duty. Their only job is to bring the story to life. So when people are like, oh, Bryce Dallas Howard finally made Boba Fett good, it's like, well, she didn't write the fucking episode. Jon Favreau is still writing the shit. He's just having other people bring it to life. So, and this isn't me knocking her at all. Her skills are clear. She is one of the best, if not the best, at directing live action Star Wars TV programs. So don't get me wrong. But she's also not the ones in control of the story. She just brings the story to life, which is a skill in and of itself. Don't get me wrong. Directors are a key part of a production. I mean, they can sink a production, as I'm not going to say that any Book of Boba episode has been a complete stinker, but the ones where fans have gotten the most opinionated are the ones that have been presented us through the lens of Robert Rodriguez's eye. And, while he might hit on some of the action sequences, some of the cuts, they just weren't good. They didn't look good. They didn't look appropriate. They looked a little cheap for the budget that this series gets. Bryce, on the other hand, you don't have any of those complaints. She nails every aspect of it. She gets the best performances out of the actors. She knows how to set up her DP. She knows how to get the most out of a scene which may be nothing on a script page. So she 100% deserves the praise she's getting. I just want people to understand that she didn't make the story. She just made it look great. Does that make sense? Okay.
I mean, here's a good comparison, or a good visualization tool for you. So in the script, you're going along, blah blah blah. Boba Fett runs into a young crew of miscreants, blah blah blah, and a chase ensues. So that's what the script says. And then what you get off of that is the chase scene that Robert filmed in the episode that everybody hated. So that's what their job is. Like, it says in the script, chase scene, and then they have to figure out, all right, well, what does this chase scene look like? Are the colors of the bike super bright, or are they not? Are they going 8 miles an hour or 80 miles an hour? That's what the director's job is to figure out what chase scene means in the script. So, I mean, likely what happened was hey, Paz Vizsla and Din Djarin fight was in the script, and then she comes up with the whole fucking fight scene. She works with the choreographer. She sets up the stage direction. She sets up the set dressing and everything like that. And then the fight scene comes to life. I think that so far she's proven herself to be either the best or top 2 in terms of the live action TV directors that we've had so far. And I think it's because, she's got a pedigree. She was kind of born in Hollywood, saw her father,
of course,
and seen this business evolve over her entire life. And then also, you can tell that she has an attachment to the source material. Robert, on the other hand, Robert is a guy who directs action, and obviously he's a big fan of Star Wars, but maybe he sees it a little bit differently than she does. And that's always what you see come out when a new director takes over, is you see things through the lens that they see it through. And I think that for my tastes, I think that, Bryce's lens is a little bit better than Robert's lens.
Yeah. For this universe, 100%. Robert clearly has a style. You can say what you want about Spy Kids and all that shit. It looks janky, but people like it. My kid's into that stuff. She's I question her sometimes and what I did to lead to this, but she's a fan of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which is one of the most atrocious looking and acted and shot everything movie, but you look at some of those projects and you look at what he did in some of these episodes, you're like, yeah, that's the same guy, which is sad considering what he did in The Mandalorian. But hey, it is what it is. But the reason we're talking about Bryce is because it's been reported, which shouldn't shock anybody, but it's been reported that she's already coming back, if not already working on The Mandalorian Season 3, directing an episode, which we do know is in production. It's been in production since the end of 21. You can see Lateef Crowder every day on Instagram rolling in. He does his Bom Dia, where he's got his little Mando, GIFs on his stories, and he's walking in to do his work. So, speaking of Lateef, is there a better role that a stunt person has ever gotten in all of Hollywood than what Lateef has achieved with Din Djarin?
Yeah, this dude's basically like,
he is the guy.
Stunt acting.
He is the guy.
He's just like the physical representation of the Mandalorian.
I knew when you were here last week, I was like, maybe we will get some Pedro, but clearly that was out the window quickly in episode 5. But also,
think about Pedro's job. Pedro has the easiest job in the fucking world. He's just sitting on his couch at home. Somebody sends him the dailies for Mando with Lateef doing all the cool shit, and they're like, "All right, go sit in your closet and just say these lines." Right. And he's like, "All right, cool, done. Here you go. Let me go back to filming The Last of Us for HBO now."
Well. I just saw this from Props. You're wrong, Props. Favreau has ultimate creative authority. He is the creator. Tamara Morrison himself proved this in an anecdote I just read like a week or two ago. Sorry, I'm addressing a comment in the stream where Props is saying Rodriguez has overall creative authority. No way. Tamara Morrison was kind of giving an anecdote about shooting. He's like, listen, I think Boba talks too much. And he told a story. He's like, one day Favreau had to leave and he went to Atlanta. And that day, I guess Tem was on set saying, let's not do all this talking for my part right now. And whoever was on set, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll give John a call. And they called John, and John's like, yeah, have him do the fucking lines. So, yeah, John Favreau
Tamara was just like, I don't feel like working as much today. And John was like, you're paid to work, my friend.
No,
sorry.
Favreau is the guy overall. Favreau is the ultimate yes or no guy. Yeah, Rodriguez was brought in to executive produce.
Bring it.
But it's just look at the credits at the end of every episode. It doesn't say created by Robert Rodriguez. It doesn't say produced. It says executive producer Robert Rodriguez, executive producer Dave Filoni, created by Jon Favreau. So I'm going to call no dice on that one, Props. I believe you think Brendan Wayne does all the walking and Lateef only does the fighting. So
that would be weird.
Brendan's the one that's kind of got that pimp limp when Mando walks. I don't know. Hey, Justin, what do you want me to tell you, pal? Fire up the credits and you tell me who is listed doing what. Robert Rodriguez didn't write the fucking series. He's not attributed for writing the series. He's given an executive producer credit. He might have been on set when all these people were doing things, but there's no way he has overall creative authority. No way. For fuck's sakes, Dave Filoni is the chief creative officer of Lucasfilm. So, that negates that right there. All right. I respectfully disagree with you, good sir. All right. So, yeah. Bryce Dallas. Yeah. All these people, get us more leaks and shit. Come on. What are you doing over there? It's enough taking pictures of Devin. Get out there on those sets. I want some leaked imagery of Mando Season 3. Let's go. We need that cred boost again. We've been left in the dust.
Could you imagine how cool it would have been to see the N1 Starfighter without fucking leaks? Honestly, leaks ruin all of Hollywood. But yeah,
it's funny. You weren't here last week, but making Star Wars broke that in November 2020. And if you go back and read the report, he also talked about having these not lived in universe Vespa scooters, which now we know it was all for the Book of Boba. So yeah, that would be nice, but I don't think we can ever put that lid back on. The internet has kind of ruined all that shit. And, I'm a junkie and feel like having stuff to talk about. So I ruin all that stuff. All right. So yeah, Bryce is going to be coming back for the Mando, coming here to direct an episode.
A movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Give her a movie.
I think so. Let's quit fucking around with these. What the hell's her name? Patty Jenkins and all these motherfuckers. This is a proven commodity at this point. Let her roll. Yeah. If Jon Favreau wants to write a movie, let him do it. If Dave Filoni wants to write a movie, let him do it. Why are we worried about trying to find new blood for this shit? All right, if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. But I would be. I mean, how great would this be? It would almost be vindication for her father. What if she got to kind of take on bringing Solo back, either in a TV series or movie?
Make it fucking happen, man.
Right.
Look. At this point, she's proven to me that she's able to write different styles of episodes, because if you just look at the episodes that she's directed, it's not like they have it looks the same, it feels the same, stuff like that. Like she did one where she's literally the first episode she did, she's in the middle of a village where everything's made out of fucking sticks and it's like almost like a native village. And then the next episode, she's messing with one of the most revered animated characters of all time in Bo-Katan. And then now she is reintroducing the Mandalorian into the Book of Boba Fett and does arguably one of the funniest episodes in this entire series, in this entire mixed universe between Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. I mean,
I do credit that the comedy can be written, but if it's not,
you have to
directed and acted properly, it can fall flat. And I said, I don't want anybody, if you tuned in late, which I doubt it, we only have a few listeners, but Bryce Dallas Howard is a goddess in the Star Wars universe in terms of how she's able to take someone else's creative vision and then put it on film. She's proven herself 3 times in a row now. She does deserve any opportunity that comes her way. But in the end, I mean, she is not writing the story. She's just helping to tell it in a much better fashion than even what we've got from the, as we, I'm not saying Justin's wrong in calling him the showrunner, but I honestly think Rodriguez was ultimately neutered on set. I mean, it sounds like Favreau was there every day sitting in a chair watching stuff. And I really don't think Robert did much outside of EPing, getting stuff ready, lining up people, working with his teams. I've been told from my stunt buddy that there was a lot of turnover between Mando and Book of Boba in the stunt department. It's like Robert wanted to kind of use his people. And I think Lateef and Brendan were the only ones retained. I mean, hell, I even looked to make sure, but Justin's girl, Lauren Mary Kim, was not the double of the armorer in the Book of Boba Fett. And she was in The Mandalorian. They brought in some other girl to do this one. So, all right. I get distracted by the chat sometimes. Anyone that's worried about Obi-Wan getting ruined, these are these fuck faces that we need to stop giving attention to. All right? Fuck these people.
How does that even make its
I don't
way
know.
into conversation
Probably
right
because there's going to be a brown guy in it. In Kumail Nanjiani. I mean, this is the way people fucking think in this day and age. They've always thought this way. It's just something happened in this country a few years ago where it became now socially acceptable to be an open racist troll fuck. Fuck them.
I just I don't know. I don't even know how we got to Kenobi. Kenobi's not even being talked about.
I like it though. I do like the prompts sometimes, and he's not wrong. Nick, I know this bummed you out the last time you're on the show, and we've come to the realization that the fandom is 100% broken. It's fucking busted. And we need to, just like in more important shit in life, we need to stop shedding light and giving these assholes further reach and platform. There's no fucking way there is no way Kenobi ruins anything. No way.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it because it's a nonsensical debate. Anyway,
again, I'll let you continue on, Nick. If you're on Star Wars sets props and you're not giving us fucking leads, like, what are you doing? Let's go. Let's quit worrying about the definition of showrunner. If you're on these sets, hook us up. We won't use your name, okay? All right, so up next, just a real quick toy thing here. We haven't had a lot of toy things to talk about, and I think that's mostly because I think I'm fully cured of my unhinged obsession with collecting every Black Series fucking figure out there and this, that, and the other thing. It does seem like I have been kind of just funneled into the 1/6 silo at this point in my collecting life, which is okay. I didn't give two shits about the 1 o'clock exclusive Walmart stick your thumb up your butt, you might get it Boba Fett sale today. Didn't give a single thought. And that's good. I'm glad to have broken myself from that, because when I walk through this basement as I'm slowly starting to organize it, I put out my video a few weeks back showing you how much shit I really do have and how much shit truly is just thrown into piles of said shit. But I'm like, Jesus, dude, you went crazy. Like, I went insane from 2016 until 2020, little bit there in 21, just buying any damn thing that was announced from Black Series. So fuck it. That's why a lot of the toy segments have gone away. But we did get the first look at the Hot Toys 1/6 scale Casca Reeves and Axe Woves. It's kind of my thing now. I don't know, man. I know you don't collect this shit, but that Casca figure is looking pretty slick based on the glamour shots. If anything, if you're a fan of Sasha Banks, this could be the closest you'll ever get to owning a scaled down replica of her. Okay, so but she looks good. They're out there now. She is getting pricey. I mean, it seems these days if a hot toy gets both a face and a hollowed out helmet that can crack if it falls off a table, you're paying $270 plus. So she's up there. But based on the fact that I already have Fennec and Bo in the pre-order queue, I do believe I'm going to have to take the dive on Casca just to complete this glamour shot we can see on the stream right now of the two owls and Fennec getting shit done in the last episode of Mando Season 2. Yeah. Out now for pre-order. And then the other one,
Axe doesn't get a face, I guess. No
which
face.
is curious. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if like that Simon, whatever the hell is it, Cass or Casparitas or Cassanitas. I don't know if he's done something stupid and he's not coming back, but yeah, Axe Woves does not get a face sculpt, which is, like Nick said, it is curious. And he did, he was only in that one episode. Casca got, double billing, and they explained like, oh yeah, Axe is on a mission, which usually means, hey, we fired the fucking actor and we're going to recast and probably never take his helmet off again. But yeah, the Axe Woves, I mean, he looks all right. But I don't know. I'm not really feeling the pull on this one. Any of you other 1/6ers, if you're in the chat, if 1/6 shooter's still in here, what are your thoughts? Is Axe Woves, I mean, do you have to get it if you've been collecting most of the other Mandos? Or because it's no face sculpt, it's a pass? I'm currently in the pass stage. But with all things Hot Toys, I mean, how shitty can one truly really look? It's still a good looking figure. It's just, do I need it to scratch my odd collecting OCD of having waves or sets of characters that should be together? I don't know. That is an answer to be made down the line. Hopefully when those dickheads send me a $25 coupon to not even cover the shipping costs of these damn near now $300 figures. So,
here you go, man. Yeah. $25. Isn't it enough?
The funny thing is, it fucking works all the time. I believe our buddy Bat just got suckered into his first Hot Toys on one of those $25 deals, which it really is. It's like, oh yeah, we'll cover your non-refundable deposit with a coupon. Like, all right, thanks. 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 That was such a big help. So yeah, I do still appreciate the 1/6 scale, and I think Casca is going to be coming to the collection for reasons I just laid out.
Yeah, no, it looks great. It looks like a great figure.
I'll tell you what, when you actually do start cleaning these fucks up and putting them in their shelves, they are pieces that can be appreciated just looking at it without having to take fucking pictures of them. I'm also almost getting to that point where I think a lot of us that are in toy photography, you form a bit of a guilt complex. Like, if I'm buying all this shit, especially if I have a family and kids and they need to eat and have nice things, maybe I should do something more than just unbox it, touch it a bit, talk to it, and then put it into a glass shelf.
Put it away.
All right, so this now takes us to the infamous, some call it iconic, Star Wars Time Show fan segment. That's right. It's always a two-pronged affair. If you want to get involved, your best route to do so is through our Instagram account at Star Wars Time Show on IG. We start with the question of the week, which is prompted every Tuesday morning in our stories and in a post, which we will then scan through any provided comments to read and sometimes discuss, if not make fun of them on the show. After that is our biggest segment, what we're known for in the toy collecting and photography community. That is the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features, in which my good friend Nick sits down on a Monday night with a hot toddy and picks out his 5 favorite shots from the week of shots that I've featured who have tagged at Star Wars Time Show and used hashtag Star Wars Time Show. So without further ado, my friend, let's get into the question of the week.
Indeed.
Which has been easy but fruitful. I mean, like I said, if you allow people to be negative in Star Wars, they typically take advantage of it, which generates.
They come out of their basements. They come out of their caves, and
it's
they
crazy,
lay it
man.
out.
I've even been throwing up some memes that I don't necessarily agree with that are making fun of Book of Boba Fett, but fuck it, we've gotten more interaction on our page over the past week and a half now that I've kind of used a resource that, I mean, let's be real. Tones is our diehard meme finder. The guy is a pro, but there's others in there. I mean, I think Bat's thrown some in, Ted. This is the fun of the Discord. Find it. But it's the memes I've put at that have been like kind of no context jabs at Book of Boba. People eat it up because it gives them a chance to be like, yeah, fuck this shit. Boba Fett, he wasn't even in the last episode. So, hey, I know what I'm doing. But I feel so bad. I believe on one, I'm like, listen, we love the show, but this meme is, you know, it's funny enough to share. So anyways, question of the week, what was your favorite or least favorite part from the Book of Boba, episode 5, the one with the other guy? All right. First up, who is this person I'll
here?
take this one because I know I always fuck up the story, so you never know who it is. But I believe this comes from Rogue Ranger. So thank you, Rogue Ranger, for reaching out. I believe this is a customizer in the community. But Rogue Ranger says, gotta say, watching Mando actually cut some poor soul in half was a welcome surprise. We haven't seen that kind of violence in either show thus far, and it seems like Disney has been squeamish about what lightsabers actually do until now. Also, how can we forget about that sleek-looking N1 starfighter? Love that it's been mostly stripped of its original paint. Gives it a more rogue feeling. All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
I will disagree. I'll disagree with them about Disney being squeamish about what lightsabers do, considering they cut a whole human in half in Last Jedi, and some of the Praetorian guards were literally had their heads cut like bisected.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the one guy he pulled the Luke Skywalker in the hovel, but actually ignited the lightsaber into his eyeball. Right when Kylo catches it and does a cheat.
Yeah, I won't say that part, but yeah, overall.
Well, Nick, I guess my only excuse for Rogue Ranger is, you know, some people and how they feel about the sequels. They may be in a similar mourning period like I was after the prequels all aired, where you just kind of pretend they don't exist and you don't account for them anymore. So that, I guess that's the excuse on that one.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen like articles from just people who are like delusional that says like John and Dave are erasing the sequel trilogy. I'm like, dude, just
no, they're not. They're actually trying to add to it, so all the goofy writing that went down in it makes a bit more sense.
Yeah,
like
kind of fill in the gaps.
That's one of the best memes I've seen. I think Tone shared it, but it's not even a meme. I think it's someone just left a comment under the scene where Poe says Palpatine has returned. How that happened? Or like, no, somehow Palpatine has returned. The comment is, just remember, someone got paid millions of dollars to write this.
That line.
That probably went to film school, and all you
Chris Terrio.
Yeah, all you writers are out there struggling, trying to write like this deep shit for screenplays. Yet this guy's getting paid mills to write that crap. Yeah. Somehow Palpatine's return. Ooh.
That's a dub. That's a dub line right there. All right. Next up for the question of the week is Tones, our good buddy. He gave us a well thought out response. He says, well, I don't see how anyone didn't like that episode. If they did, get the fuck off the bus and go find another franchise to cry over. That was absolutely outstanding Star Wars. Light and not too heavy, and left me really wanting more. So much good stuff in that episode. Adam, my eldest kid, phoned me halfway through it and asked what I was up to. I said that we were halfway through Mando, to which he corrected me. See, even Tones thought it was Mando, not Book of Boba. That episode has more watchability than anything I've seen since Rogue One. I've seen people complaining that it was a nostalgia trip and nothing else. Get the fuck out. I absolutely adored every egg and nod that BDH threw at us. The Terminator nod during the Night of a Thousand Tears with the K2s. Odd to think that it was the best the Book of Boba Fett episode that never had Boba Fett actually in it. Oh, and love to see Hamill stand in as the X-Wing. See this Hamill stand in as the X-Wing pilot. Love that. Damn, it's a golden time to be a true Star Wars fan. Absolutely exceptional viewing. Yeah, I'll agree on that. And I don't blame you, Tones, for thinking that you were watching The Mandalorian because it pretty much was.
Yeah, that was the easy joke that everyone immediately went to. The other thing I've noticed, and you won't see this, but I'll tell you what, if you're in the toy photography community, you better plan on watching these episodes right away, because there seems to be zero adherence to spoiler policies anymore for live action TV shows. Because, dude, when I was going through the hashtags later on Wednesday, and I'm talking later on, maybe 10 a.m., because I got up at 4 last week to get all that shit done before work, already direct scene recreations from that episode, like big stuff.
One of them made it into the top 5 for sure. So
yeah, I think I waited until Sunday to share that. I at least give it 3 days, or when. I mean, let's be real. Even the official Star Wars and Mandalorian social accounts, they wait like maybe 48 hours, and they're like, "Hey, he's back!" And they show him walking through the meat locker strips and all that. It's like, okay, well, I guess no one gives a fuck anymore. They're like, hey, it's streaming. You can watch it whenever you want. Get it. Watch it quick.
Yeah, they probably look at their analytics and are like 85% of the people who watch the episode watch it within the first 2 days. So we don't give a fuck about the other 15. All right, next up, question of the week. 2797_studio says, lots of cool stuff in that Mando episode. I like the whole Dark Series Mandalore stuff. Seeing the Night of a Thousand Tears, the cautionary tale of Bo-Katan, seeing Mando struggle with the Darksaber, all of the Armorer stuff, basically. But what a fun episode. Not an episode of the Mando, though.
I've been dealing with it all week. I finally have just given up. It's fine.
I know, right? I mean, that's what it basically was just a episode of the Mandalorian.
Yeah, like I said, it's the easy joke, whatever.
Yeah. Camino Clone Trooper _custom says, I loved everything about this episode. The only gripe I have is that I feel like Mando just
see what I have to deal with all week going on socials that you get to avoid.
Dude. Boba better be more serious and badass in the next few episodes, or I'm really just gonna lose the hype feeling of seeing the Boba character. I mean, I guess I get it, but they're two different types of characters.
Well, it's like I said. I mean, everyone he was a false god to a lot of people. Whether they
also like Boba Fett's an old ass fucking man.
Well, Not
Din
technically. He's only like, I mean, dude,
right?
Boba's only supposed to be like 40 in the present timeline.
Yeah, I guess so. Right? Because did we ever get
I'll step you through it.
Age?
I'll step you through it. He was 10 in Attack of the Clones. So 13 by the Fall of the Republic. You add 18 to that to get him up to A New Hope. That puts him at 31. And then A New Hope, the Jedi, 3-4 years maybe?
I think it's 6.
All right. Even then, he's in his mid-30s. So he's about 40 in the present timeline. Not even. I mean, he would have been 35, 36 at the end of Jedi. And then we add the 6 years in between Jedi and Mando timeline. There we go. 41, 42. So him and Din, honestly, are probably the same age because Din looked like about 10 when Death Watch picked him up during the Clone Wars. That's just, I mean, that goes back to your initial gripe. Like, Tem, they might have should have de-aged him a bit more than they did. But hey, he's a sexy-ass looking, what is he, Maorian, so I'm not going to talk any shit on Mr. Morrison.
Yeah. All right. And then Mix Bricks Minifigs says, my favorite part, Din Djarin showing up. My least favorite part.
Oh my God, you picked all of them like this.
Taking up the whole episode with no Boba to be seen in a show about Boba Fett. So there you go. Everybody loved it, except they hated it because Boba Fett wasn't in it.
I'm with Devin, who just said, I'm so tired of hearing that shit over and over. LMAO. I'm with you, man. It's like, geez.
Look.
People, shared universe. Like, okay, it's named the Book of Boba Fett, but look, what happened to the show called The Mandalorian? What did it turn into? The Grogu and company. So...
yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, just because a show's called something in a shared universe doesn't mean that the titular character has to be in every damn scene of that show. It's okay. He'll be back. I'd be surprised if they did another full Din episode, but I do think tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this after you may have seen it, I'm not going to be surprised if it's a 50-50 or 60-40 split again, though, in episode 6.
Very true. Yeah. So... thank you all for the responses to this week's question. Stay tuned. On Tuesdays in the morning, Matt posts a question of the week. Find it on the IG. Go post your thoughts. Everything that you really hated about it. Because we know that's what people like to write about.
Even after this, the question of the week is it is going to be hate-based questions because it just works. We get way more comments, way more color in the opinions. So fuck it. From here on, so my question is going to be like, what do you hate about Star Wars this week? Go and just let them air their grievances.
What I was looking for? I was I scrolled down a bit and not one person mentioned Pally, and I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, she was the best part of that whole episode. Like, wow. It wasn't even close either. Like, people aren't like you and me, droids, man. Like I said, like that. Like, they only like the things that they don't like. The flashy stuff. I've never been a Star Wars fan that has only liked it because of flying spaceships, lasers, and lightsabers. It's always been the characters. What drives them, what happened to them in the past to make them who they are now. I mean, that's why when I was a teen in high school, I had such a hard-on for the prequels and what that could give me. I mean, Vader's always been my number one, so learning holy shit, I'm finally going to see how he went from Anakin to Vader. Now, it didn't play out the way I want, and I kind of acted like a lot of people are now when I wrote the script in my head, and if it didn't meet that, it automatically sucked, which, is not that fair of a treatment, but whatever. I've grown, I've gotten older, I've softened on the prequels. We've just completed our rewatch of 1 through 6 this past weekend, and my kid has once again told me, you know what, Dad, I think I only like Return of the Jedi now. That's my favorite. The other ones are whatever. It's like, damn, man, you used to watch Empire Strikes Back at least 4 times a week, but hey, people change, and my kid is definitely not the junkie she used to be with Empire and A New Hope. She's an ROTJ fan for life, just like her old man. So I guess I can't be too upset. Nice. Yeah, it's story, man. Star Wars is story to me. All the other stuff, whatever. As long as we got character building and world building going on, which I believe every episode of the Mando-verse shows have given us so far, I'm good. Good to go. Yeah. And as long as the speeders aren't too colored brightly, so that's the
drive like they're going through quicksand.
Glasses. All right, that's the end of the question of the week for this week. It's time to move into the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. To get involved in this one, tag us using @StarWarsTimeShow or hashtag Star Wars Time Show on your Star Wars art posts. We will see those. Matt will see those. He'll pick out his favorites.
Yeah, and Matt will also get to go into our messages section and tap on them all day long just so I don't see notifications. And if I do miss an actual message, that's why. Instagram has made it impossible to use its DM system as actual direct messages with whoever fucking thought of this. It's like it happened when they changed to Meta. They should be fucking shot. All right? I said it. What designer sits around and goes, or developer goes, yeah, this will be a good idea. Anytime an account gets tagged, we'll also send them a direct message that they got tagged. Even though we already have a fucking built-in section in your profile for tags that also gets a little red number on it. No, let's make them direct messages. So assholes with even small accounts to get tagged a lot have to go throughout the day and tap on them so they don't have like 150 to do the next day. It's mind-boggling that shit got signed off on. And it's not fixed yet. I'm not the only one. I think I was one of the first to bitch about it, but I've seen it's caught on. Other people have understood that this is brain dead. All right, man. Top 5. Who do we got here first? Let's go. I think it's one of our longest time fans in.
Yeah, in the SWT. It's
Figure fucking Hurts.
And you put it pretty well on the caption here. Savage setup. So what we see is Bosk, the Trandoshan bounty hunter, and right next to him are pikes with the heads of the Wookiees he's slain on it. So you see Wookiee heads on pikes. You got Bosk off to the side, just shooting his gun, like a fucking crazy gangster. And it's a savage setup. I love the purple atmosphere, smoke in the background. The posing by Bosk is fucking perfect. The way he's got like the pikes in there, like all crossing each other. The guts, the spines of the fucking Wookiees hanging off their necks. Awesome stuff.
Chunky shit hanging out. Yeah, it's when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, this kind of reminds me of the warning to stormtroopers from Mos Eisley, but as Nick said, Figure Hurts took it a different direction, did the whole play on Trandoshan and Wookiees and why they hate each other, why that scene with Kursatan was so much fun when he's just looking at those Trandoshans and they're gambling, and you can just tell he's like, you know what, fuck these guys, I'm gonna rip one of their arms off. So good stuff.
Like, should
here.
I do it? It's like, I'm going to kill them all. All right. So beautiful stuff at Figure Hurts on Instagram. Go give him a follow. He's a good one. Next up, it's Sir Dork. It's
fucking love it.
It's Sir Dork 730 on the IG. This one, I've said it many times. I always love when people take Star Wars toys specifically into the real world and
Toy Story them a little bit.
Yeah,
get a little Toy Story action.
This is fantastic stuff. So Sir Dork has his cat there.
Lovely looking feline, by the way. Love that
very,
cat.
very pretty cat. Very pretty cat. But he's got the 2 stormtroopers set up like they're trying to fire at this cat. It's like, oh no, the cat Rancor is about to fucking kill us all. And like the way that he got his cat to pose is like perfect. Like the claw is up, like their paws up to get the nails coming out like towards the swipe.
It's great.
It's fantastic. So I wonder if Dork just got Jared got this shot of the cat and then just posted in the stormtroopers. But if he actually got the cat to do that to the stormtroopers and caught this perfectly in frame, that's just fucking amazing.
He did. I think it's in I don't know if it was in the post or in a reel, but he showed us. Here we go. I got it on the stream now, Nick, or you can just go to his post.
I'm looking.
It's like a time lapse he set up, and you can see. He's trying to get his subject in there, to do what he wants. He was trying one
he's
cat
just
first.
Like moving her. Like,
yeah, he got one cat first. Now he's getting the other one. And he's like, all right, motherfucker, pointing his, then knocks the damn figures over, the lights over. It's like,
oh my God.
Let's just say Haywood Pop would never have the patience to do a shot like this, because I would probably snap one of the cat's necks, after they knocked him over for the 50th time. But you can see Jared's in there. He's like, he's trying to get his water ready to spray, and he's pointing like, look here, point here, point here. And it looks like he eventually gets the black and white cat to pop up. But he is telling us now he did cheat ultimately in Photoshop. Either way, who gives a shit? And it's funny, Nick. This is Jared's most liked shot of all time.
Really?
Yep. Wow. I think it hit 10,000. Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, within 24 hours. But I think within a day it hit 10,000. So like this thing even went beyond his usual large reach. So it was a winner. I mean, it's just, I love cats, fucking love them. And I also love Star Wars. So marrying them and just setting up like this, again, a toys to life and real life shot. That's why he's the Sir Dork, I mean, that's why he's the guy being asked to, kind of head the first ever toy photography con. That's why he's a guy that's partnered with that company that people essentially pay to go on a trip with him and learn about toy photography. I mean, Jared is one of the biggest ambassadors in the entire community at this point in time. And it's for stuff like this. I mean, he always has good ideas, but then he can execute. And really what has made Jared, I think, have the legs and just the following he has. I mean, he's like a rock star. We need him to bring more of his flock over to Star Wars Time Show, but we'll talk about that off air, Jared. But he shares everything. He interacts with the community on a weekly basis. He does his own live streams. He puts out the tutorials. He doesn't hide any of his tricks. So, I mean, that's why he gets what he gets. But that's our guy. I believe our first ever guest, first ever co-host. I
think, yes, he was.
He will forever hold a special place in the annals or anals of Star Wars Time Show history.
There you go. All right. Beautiful shot at Sir Dork 730. You know him. You love him. You probably already follow him. Next up, this is the scene recreation shot that I was talking about. This is from @toy.cap on Instagram. And it's the shot of the end of the battle where Din Djarin has Paz Vizsla subdued in his arms, vibro blade to his neck right before the armorer calls it all off. Says, hey, it's over. You beat him. He gets to keep the dark saber. I still think that's
bullshit. He should have just slit his throat immediately as soon as he pulled him back.
I'm telling you, she's like, I only got 3. I can't let him kill one.
Time out. She's like, time out. Car's coming, time out.
Yeah. Game on. All right. But this one, I mean, it's great. Great atmospheric work in the background. There's definitely like some color filtering here because I don't think that Paz's armor is that dark.
I mean, Nick, that's what stood out to me was just the color grading that Toy Cap did on it. I really like the finish here, put on in post, and this is one I believe I shared it Sunday, and trust me, there were a ton of fantastic recreations. But for the Star Wars Time Show and the fact that we're not complete dickheads, I've kind of made it a policy. I'm not going to instant share on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday scene recreations of the most current episode of a Star Wars show.
It's probably good etiquette.
Yeah, it's just like, come on. I mean, I understand everyone's excited and we got the toys and we want to show people that we can recreate scenes, but need a little more, a little more patience moving forward. But it ain't gonna happen. I can guarantee you whatever big happens on Wednesday is gonna be out there probably by 10 a.m. Eastern time on Instagram. So watch out, people. Like I said, watch out.
Probably so. All right, so at toy.cap on Instagram. Beautiful work,
good poses too. I mean, I would say to make Paz kind of look like that defeated look, that's good. Like, good stuff.
His head kind of tilted off. So good posing, good atmosphere, all around top notch work at toy.cap on Instagram. Next up, this is a real ass paint.
That's right
here. And you can tell it is because our fans hate it and then only has 88 likes, even though this is a fantastic rendition of Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars. And this is from at Nerdy Fairy Sarah. And
good handle.
You get so many, and it's just like the artistic vision that she used to bring this to life, and you still keep that Clone War style look to it, where it's very angular, but there's like different, like obviously different work done, with 3D modeling versus somebody actually drawing this by hand or in a program. And I don't know, the emotion captured in this image is just stunning.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've given up trying to explain how these art magicians pull this shit off and how it comes out of their fingers, either on traditional ink or using digital. It's never going to make sense to me, but that's why I am called the Uncreative. I think that should be my name. I'm going to change my handle to the
handle.
Yeah, the Uncreative, because I just don't. I don't have it. I don't have it anywhere really. I mean, if I have anything, I'm good at talking more than I need to about fake science fiction properties. That's about it.
Hey, that's art.
And
right?
you know what? I can troubleshoot machines like a motherfucker too. Like computers, stereos, TVs. I speak machine. Outside of that, I'm a zero. So I think the Uncreative is definitely a good new moniker for me, but that can't be said for at Nerdy Fairy Sarah. A smaller account, but great art nonetheless. I do have to tell Nick, because I'm sure he missed it, but I know you were possibly holding out for this just in case, God forbid anything ever happened with you and Taylor. But our buddy and one of our favorite real ass painters at Savvy Art is now engaged. So she's off the market.
Where is this going?
Yeah, she's off the market. You can give up on that quest. Quit pining for it. She has been and congrats to her, because
I was like, congratulations.
But
Savvy.
I don't see a lot of art anymore, sadly, because I mean, obviously, outside of Devin, I don't think many of the real ass painters listen to us regularly, so they forget to do the tagging. But IG really is constructed in a way now, like if you don't get on our page for like a week straight, so I'm at least hitting like, you disappear. Like, you just don't exist. I don't see venomous shit anymore, and I guarantee he's putting out some fucking bangers. We see our boy Super Scoundrel, because he knows the deal. I don't see Uzu art or Uzier art. Hardly see any of her stuff. Yeah. Jake Bartok, I don't see any of his shit. So luckily, Devin has kind of been doing personal shares of other artists, and I am trying. I'm kind of leaning on our wrench at this point for some features to get some more real ass paint into the mix, because I do love it. I mean, it's the toy photography is great, but I've been a fan of Star Wars artwork and fan art way before I even knew toy photography existed. So if you're hearing this and you are a real ass artist, that's what our dumbass is called, artists, or real ass painters, same thing. Make sure to at least try to remember that hashtag Star Wars Time Show.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Last up in the top 5 this week, this is at Kill Cutter Photo, and this is a fantastic mashup between the Alien Predator universe and the Star Wars universe. And what we see is Mr. Maul holding the severed head of a Predator, while aliens, I don't know if they're like running away from him, or no, he has them chained. He's treating aliens, the xenomorphs, as his personal guard dogs or something.
Yeah, they're like his beagles or hunting dogs.
Yeah, hunting dogs. I mean, this is some fantastic work. Like,
it's awesome.
I don't know what he used. Like, the setting that he has this in, it's fantastic. I think it looks like Dathomir in a way. Like, it kind of but it's not.
You know
what
I just noticed, dude? That the structure behind them, that's a Mandalorian starfighter. I forget the model name for some reason right now, but that's a Mando ship. You know how they land and point their wings up?
Oh yeah, they point up like that. Yeah. I mean, this is just fucking fantastic work. So he's using his hunting xenomorphs to go sniff out a predator, and then he takes on the predator in combat and fucking cuts his head off. And he's got like the goo, the blood down the neck of the predator. I mean, this is just some brutal shit from Ad Kill Cutter Photo, but it was such an awesome job. had to put it in.
Well,
the
I mean,
top
that's
five.
why I said, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, Kill Cutter got a full feature on Gizmodo and IO9. I mean, one writer over there obviously took note. I'm going to say they looked at Star Wars Time Show page and found it because I'm an asshole. But they took note and featured a lot of Kill Cutter photos, pieces, and they are. I mean, this guy, another one that just has that creativity, but then the ability to execute the vision in his head, which, you know, I don't have it. I don't really give a shit anymore. I'm good with just doing static portrait shots here and there. And I've actually been sharing shots again on Haywood Pop, believe it or not. But yeah, I mean, Kill Cutter, come on, definitely one of the top artists in the game, in the toy photography game, and one of the best at using multiple assets, layers, and Photoshop to create a bitchin' looking scene like the one we're checking out right now.
100%. So at Kill Cutter Photo closes out the top 5 for this week with an absolute banger of a shot. And that's it. That's the end of the top 5. That's the end of the show for this week. So Matt, close us out. And,
I will. I'll take us home.
Let's look forward to the next episode of the the Book of Boba Fett, right?
Don't worry. I even did the joke in the announcer did the joke today in the lead. So I'm no better than all the other people going for the easy stuff.
Suck.
You know, that's like telling. At this point, it's like doing a knock joke or, you know, a chicken crossing the road shit. Like, it's just such an easy gag. It's like, all right, whatever. But yeah, as Nick said, it's time to put this one to bed. This is our first 3-hour show in quite some time, but I think the time was warranted. You know, we have some meat to chew on these days. So, you know, hopefully Nick doesn't get yelled at. Hopefully I don't get yelled at. We definitely went over our promised 2.5. But like I said, we're no longer just talking the talk and spinning wheels. I think we're getting some good speculation, good breakdowns, good possible setups. So if you want to join in on the fun, and this happens to be the first time you listened to the Star Wars Time Show, make sure to, first and foremost, whatever platform you're on, give us a rating, a review, a like, a comment, a share, a subscription. Now, if you've already done that, and you need to sell it to a like-minded friend, you can just tell them to head on over to StarWarsTime.net. That's where we live in between shows. That's where our content is. And again, it is an easy platform to get to and find all of our jump-off links to the various podcast platforms we are on, including iTunes, Google, Spotify podcasts. They're all in the news these days. No, we are not being paid $100 million, but we are on Spotify, just like Joe Rogan. We're also on Androids, Pandoras, Stitchers, TuneIns, Deezers. Hell, if you're old school and you just want to burn the RSS feed, we also have that for you. Now, if you're someone that has the time available and you want to interact and get into a chat with like-minded Star Wars fans, then you should also head to StarWarsTime.net. Scroll down a little bit, look on the right, and you will find the Star Wars Time on YouTube. We even got a handy-dandy built-in subscribe button, and we'd love for you to do so, especially if you're listening it to for the first time on today's stream. Hit the like, leave a comment, sub, turn on those alerts, because we actually alert you now when we're doing a show. I schedule them, and look, more people show up. It's weird. It's like if you do something at a certain amount of time or a certain time every week, people will continually come back at that set time. It's crazy. It's appointment listening / viewing. That's what we strive to be. We are the Star Wars Time Show. There's always time for Star Wars Time. Say it with me, everyone. There is always time for Star Wars Time. There's clearly not enough time now because I'm already like half shutting down the show. Before I'm done, I got the browser over Nick and I's faces. I'm like starting to hit buttons and getting ready to get up and go. But yeah, so I guess Devin missed our episode predictions, but I'm thinking episode 6 again, just a recap of the Book of Boba Fett. We could get a 50-50, 60-40 split type of narrative delivery where we take care of the Grogu and Din reunion so we know he can come back and fight. And then with the Boba and Fennec, we see what other big names and iconic characters from past Star Wars they bring in, because you know they're coming. Don't sleep on it. I think some of the motley crew will be there and present and ready for the war, which I believe will kick off in full episode 7. All right. So if you like what we do, like I said, StarWarsTime.net. Say it to yourself every night before you go to bed. There's always time for Star Wars time. It's kind of our this is the way. That is our creed. There is always time for Star Wars time. And like I always say as I leave you, if you do listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force, Mandalorian infused or not, will be with you always.